Hey everyone, I'm Mono Scaling here to guide you today. If you use this video to drift off to sleep, please tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now, get comfortable and relax. My name is Derek Lawson, and I need to write this down while I can still remember who I am. We pulled into the San Rafael Swell RV park on October 14th. Just as the sun was starting its descent behind the jagged sandstone formations. My wife Jennifer had been planning this trip for months, our last hurrah before the divorce papers got filed. Neither of us had told our daughter Macy yet. She was 12, old enough to sense something was wrong but young enough to still believe we could fix it. The RV park sat in a shallow basin surrounded by rust-colored cliffs and sparse juniper trees. The ranger who checked us in was a woman in her 60s with sun-damaged skin and a name tag that read, Paula. She handed Jennifer a map and pointed to our assigned spot, number 47, near the eastern edge of the campground. "You folks here for the stargazing?" Paula asked. "That's the plan," I said. "Heard this is one of the best dark sky areas in Utah." Paula nodded slowly. "It is. Just, well, if you see anything unusual, best to stay in your vehicle after dark." Jennifer laughed. "Unusual? Like what, coyotes?" "Something like that." Paula's expression didn't change. "Enjoy your stay." We drove to spot 47 in silence. The hookup process took longer than usual because I couldn't remember where I'd packed the sewer hose adapter. Jennifer stood outside with her arms crossed while Macy sat on the picnic table, scrolling through her phone and complaining about the weak signal. "There's no Wi-Fi out here, baby," Jennifer said. "That was kind of the point." Macy rolled her eyes. "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Look at the stars. Talk to your parents. Read a book." "A book? Seriously?" I got the RV leveled and hooked up by 7:30. The sun had disappeared, leaving behind a purple-orange gradient that looked like a bruise. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Jennifer started making dinner inside while I built a fire in the ring. Macy eventually wandered over and sat next to me. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I poked at the fire with a stick. "Where did that come from?" "You haven't touched each other in like 3 months. You sleep in separate rooms. I'm 12, not stupid. We're just figuring some things out, honey." "That's a yes." I looked at her. She had Jennifer's dark hair and my gray eyes. In the firelight, she looked older than 12. "We love you very much. No matter what happens between your mom and me, that won't change." She stood up. "I'm going inside." "Macy." But she was already walking back to the RV, her hands shoved deep in her hoodie pockets. Jennifer called us in for dinner around 8. We ate spaghetti at the narrow dining table, the three of us squeezed together in a space that had felt cozy when we first bought the RV, but now felt suffocating. No one talked much. After dinner, Macy went to her bunk with her phone, trying to load videos that kept buffering and timing out. Jennifer and I cleaned up, moving around each other with the practiced efficiency of people who've been married for 14 years. When we finished, she poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch. "She knows," I said. Jennifer nodded. "Of course she knows. Maybe we should tell her. Actually talk to her about it. Not this weekend. Let her have this trip first." I wanted to argue that we were being cowards, that Macy deserved the truth, but I was too tired. Instead, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and went outside. The stars were incredible. The Milky Way stretched across the sky like someone had spilled milk on black velvet. I sat in one of the camp chairs and tried to pick out constellations, but I'd never been good at that. Jennifer was the astronomy nerd in the family. That's when I saw the child. She was standing at the edge of our campsite, maybe 30 feet away, right where the light from our fire met the darkness beyond. She looked to be 7 or 8 years old, wearing a white nightgown that seemed to glow in the firelight. Her hair hung straight and dark past her shoulders. In her hands she held a candle, a thick white pillar candle that shouldn't have stayed lit in the evening breeze. "Hello?" I called out. The child didn't respond. She just stood there perfectly still, the candle flame unwavering. I stood up and took a few steps toward her. "Are you lost? Where are your parents?" Nothing. Her face was tilted down, shadowed, so I couldn't make out her features, but something about her posture made me stop walking. "Jennifer," I called over my shoulder. "Can you come out here?" The RV door opened and Jennifer stepped out. "What? Do you see that little girl?" Jennifer followed my gaze. After a moment, she said, "Where?" "Right there, at the edge of the light. She's holding a candle." "Derek, there's no one there." I looked back at the spot. The child was still there, exactly as before. "You're telling me you don't see a kid in a nightgown holding a candle?" Jennifer walked over and stood next to me. She squinted into the darkness. "No, I don't see anything." The child raised her free hand and pointed toward the cliffs to the east. "Jesus Christ, Jen, she's pointing. You really don't see her?" "I think you need to lay off the beer." Jennifer went back inside. I stared at the child for another minute. She remained motionless except for that outstretched arm pointing into the desert darkness. Finally, I walked toward her. When I got within 10 feet, she turned and walked into the darkness. The candle flame stayed lit, bobbing along like a firefly. I followed without thinking, leaving the circle of firelight behind. "Hey, wait," I called. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The child didn't stop. She moved with a strange gliding quality, her white nightgown floating around her ankles. The candle provided just enough light for me to see her silhouette but not her face, which remained angled toward the ground. I followed her maybe 100 yards from our campsite. The terrain became rocky, scattered with scrub brush and weathered stones. The child stopped abruptly and pointed again, this time at the ground directly in front of her. I approached slowly. "What is it? What are you showing me?" When I reached the spot where she was pointing, I looked down and saw what appeared to be a shallow depression in the earth, roughly 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. The dirt looked disturbed, different from the surrounding soil. "What is this?" I asked. The child finally looked up at me. I can't describe her face, not because I don't remember. I remember it perfectly. But there aren't words for what I saw. It was simultaneously too old and too young, too smooth and too wrinkled, too pale and too dark. Her eyes were holes. Not empty sockets, but actual holes that went back forever, like looking into deep wells with no bottom. I stumbled backward and fell on my ass. When I looked up again, the child was gone. The candle flame had vanished. I was alone in the dark desert with only the stars above and a disturbed patch of earth in front of me. I scrambled to my feet and ran back toward camp. The fire had burned down to embers, barely providing enough light to see by. I burst into the RV, breathing hard. Jennifer looked up from her phone. "What's wrong with you?" "There was a girl. I followed her. She showed me something." "Derek, there was no girl. I saw her. She pointed at this spot in the ground, like a grave or something." Macy emerged from her bunk area. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Jennifer said. "Your father just had too much to drink." "I had one beer. I know what I saw." "You saw a hallucination." "Hallucinations don't leave footprints." I grabbed my flashlight from the drawer and went back outside before Jennifer could stop me. I retraced my steps into the darkness, sweeping the flashlight beam back and forth. It took me a few minutes to find the spot again, the disturbed patch of earth. I knelt down and examined it more closely. The soil was definitely different from the surrounding ground, looser, darker. And when I brushed away the top layer with my hand, the dirt underneath was moist despite the dry climate. I stood up and played the flashlight around the area. That's when I noticed the other patches, 6 of them scattered within a 50-foot radius, all roughly the same size and shape, all showing signs of recent disturbance. My phone rang in my pocket, making me jump, Jennifer's name on the screen. "Yeah? Get back here. Now." "Why? What's wrong?" "Macy says she saw something outside her window." I ran back to the RV and found both of them standing in the narrow hallway near Macy's bunk. Macy's face was pale. "What did you see?" I asked. "A little girl," Macy whispered. "She was standing outside my window, looking in. She had a candle." Jennifer glared at me. "Did you put her up to this?" "What? No, I didn't say anything about a candle." "Then you're both having the same delusion." "Or there's actually a girl out there," I said. "A girl who might be in danger, or you're scaring your daughter with your bullshit." Macy started crying. Jennifer wrapped her arms around her and led her back to her bunk. I went outside again and walked the perimeter of our site. I saw nothing. No child, no candle, no movement except the branches of the juniper trees swaying in the breeze. But when I looked toward the cliffs to the east, I thought I saw something. A small point of light, moving slowly along the base of the rock face. I watched it for several minutes before it disappeared. I went back inside. Jennifer had put Macy to bed and was sitting on the couch with another glass of wine. "I'm sleeping out here," she said. "You can have the bed." "Jen, I don't want to hear it." I brushed my teeth and went to the bedroom. I lay on top of the covers, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. The RV creaked and settled around me. Outside, I could hear the fire hissing as it died. I must have fallen asleep eventually, because I woke up to voices. The LED clock on the nightstand read 3:06 a.m. I lay still and listened. The voices were coming from outside, children's voices, singing something in a language I didn't recognize. The melody was simple, repetitive, almost hypnotic. I got up and moved to the window. Outside I could see candles, dozens of them, arranged in a wide circle around our RV, and holding each candle was a child in a white nightgown. They stood perfectly still, facing inward toward us, their heads bowed, their voices rising and falling in that strange, wordless song. I counted them. 23 children, all girls, all approximately the same age, all holding identical white pillar candles that burned without flickering. I rushed to the living area and shook Jennifer awake. "Look outside, right now." She groaned and pushed my hand away. "Leave me alone." "Jennifer, please, just look." She sat up and glared at me, but she went to the window. She stared out for a long moment. "What am I supposed to be seeing?" "The children, the candles, they're surrounding us." "Derek, there's nothing out there." I looked again. The children were still there, their song continuing. "How can you not see them?" Macy appeared in the hallway. "I hear singing." Jennifer's expression changed. "Macy, go back to bed." "But I hear it. Don't you hear it?" "There's nothing to hear. You're both overtired." But Jennifer's voice had uncertainty in it now. She could hear it too, I realized. She just didn't want to admit it. The singing stopped abruptly. All 23 children raised their heads in unison and looked at the RV. Even through the window glass and the darkness, I could see their faces, or the absence of faces. Each one was like the first girl I'd seen. Something that wore the shape of a child but wasn't one. Something with holes for eyes that went down forever. One of them, the original girl I'd seen, stepped forward and pointed at the RV, specifically at Macy's window. Then they all started walking toward us. "Lock the doors," I said. "Derek, lock the fucking doors." I ran to the entry door and threw the deadbolt. Jennifer stood frozen in the middle of the living area, her face pale. Macy had started crying again. The children reached the RV. I could hear their footsteps on the ground outside, small feet moving in synchronization. Then I heard hands pressing against the aluminum siding. Dozens of small hands patting and scratching, moving up and down the exterior walls. "Make them stop," Macy sobbed. "Daddy, make them stop." I don't know how. The hands found the door. The latch rattled. The door shook in its frame. But the deadbolt held. Then I heard something that made my blood freeze. The sound of the RV's entry door unlocking. Not from the outside. From the inside. I watched the deadbolt turn on its own, metal sliding through metal. "No," I said. I lunged forward and grabbed the handle, holding it tight. "Jennifer, help me!" She didn't move. She was staring at something behind me, her mouth open. I turned my head. The child with the candle was standing in the hallway, inside the RV. She must have been there the whole time, standing in the shadows, waiting. Her nightgown was filthy, caked with dirt that smelled like old earth and copper. The candle flame cast dancing shadows on the walls. "Macy," the child said. Her voice was wrong. Too many voices layered on top of each other, speaking in unison. "Come with us." "No," I said. "You can't have her." The child tilted her head. "She belongs with us now, with the others." "What others?" The child pointed toward the east. "The ones who came before. The ones who stay." Macy screamed. I let go of the door handle and ran toward her, but the child was faster. She moved in that gliding way again, crossing the distance in an instant, her small hand, cold and dry as paper, wrapped around Macy's wrist. "Don't touch her!" Jennifer finally moved, rushing forward. The child looked at Jennifer with those bottomless eyes. "You cannot see us. You are not chosen." "I'm her mother." "That doesn't matter here." The entry door burst open. More children poured in, their white nightgowns rustling, their candles somehow staying lit as they moved. They surrounded Macy, pressing close, their hands reaching out to touch her hair, her face, her clothes. I tried to pull her away, but there were too many of them. They were surprisingly strong, despite their small size. They pulled Macy toward the door, their song starting again, that hypnotic melody that made my head swim. Jennifer was screaming, pulling at the children, but her hands passed through them like they were made of smoke. For her, they weren't solid. For her, they might not even be there at all. But I could feel them. I could smell the grave dirt on their nightgowns, and I could see Macy's terrified face as they dragged her outside. I followed them out into the night. The circle of children had broken, forming a line that led away from the RV toward the eastern cliffs. They moved in procession, with Macy in the middle, stumbling and crying. I chased after them. "Let her go. Take me instead." The children didn't respond. They just kept walking, their candles lighting the way. We went back to the disturbed patches of earth I'd seen earlier. The children stopped at the first one, the one the original girl had shown me. Two of them knelt down and began digging with their bare hands. The soil came away easily, too easily, revealing something white underneath. Bones, small bones, a child's rib cage partially exposed. "What is this?" I demanded. "What are you?" The girl with the candle, the one who'd started all this, turned to me. "We are the ones who were left behind, the ones who waited in the dark places. Now we have been given permission to return." "Permission from who?" "From her." She pointed at Macy. "She called us. She wished for parents who loved each other. She wished so hard that she opened the way." I looked at Macy. Her face was streaked with tears. "I didn't mean to," she sobbed. "I just wanted you and Mom to stop fighting. I just wanted us to be happy." "And now she must take a place with us," the child said. "That is the price of answered wishes." "No, there has to be another way. There is always another way." The child looked at me with those terrible eyes. "One who loves her may take her place." I didn't hesitate. "I'll do it." "Derek, no." Jennifer had followed us. She couldn't see the children, but she could see Macy and me. She could hear my words. "You can't do this." "I can save her," I said. "That's all that matters." "You're crazy. Both of you are crazy. There's nothing here. No children, no candles, no—" She stopped. I saw her expression change as her eyes fixed on something behind me. When I turned, I saw that the children had multiplied. There were hundreds of them now, emerging from the darkness, from behind rocks, from impossible angles in the shadows. All holding candles, all wearing white nightgowns, all with faces that weren't faces. Jennifer could see them now. I don't know why. Maybe because there were so many. Maybe because the veil had worn thin. Maybe because Macy's wish had torn something open that couldn't be closed. "Oh my God," Jennifer whispered. The children began to sing again. The melody wrapped around us like a living thing pulling at something deep in my chest. I felt myself taking a step forward, then another. The disturbed earth patch in front of me beckoned. "Dad, don't," Macy cried. But I kept walking. When I reached the edge of the shallow grave, I looked down at the bones beneath the soil. They were old, decades old, maybe longer. A child who died here, been buried here, and been forgotten. "Will it hurt?" I asked. The girl with the candle smiled. It was the first expression I'd seen on any of their faces. "Only for a moment. Then you will be with us. Then you will sing our song. Then you will wait with us for the next one who wishes too hard." "And Macy goes free?" "Yes. The exchange is made." I knelt down beside the grave. The children gathered around me, their candles forming a circle of light. I could hear Jennifer screaming, could hear Macy crying, but it all seemed far away now. The song was growing louder, filling my head, making it hard to think about anything else. The girl with the candle leaned forward and blew out her flame. Darkness rushed in. I'm writing this on my phone, sitting in the dirt at the edge of our campsite. Dawn is breaking over the cliffs to the east. Jennifer and Macy are asleep in the RV. They don't remember last night. Or rather, they remember a different version of it. A normal night of camping, with s'mores and stars and family bonding. But I remember the truth. I can still feel the cold hands of the children on my shoulders pulling me down into the earth. I can still taste the dirt filling my mouth. I can still hear the song, even though they've stopped singing. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy. Maybe last night was a hallucination brought on by stress and alcohol and a failing marriage. Maybe I dreamed the whole thing. But when I woke up just now, I was lying on the ground next to that first gravesite covered in dirt with soil under my fingernails and in my hair. And in my pocket was a small white candle that won't light no matter how many times I try. Jennifer is talking about extending our trip. She seems happier than she's been in months. Macy is smiling again. They're discussing breakfast, making jokes, acting like a family that isn't broken. And I'm sitting here, watching them through the RV window, wondering if I made the exchange after all. Wondering if I'm really here. Wondering if I'm really me. Because when I look at my reflection in my phone screen, my face seems wrong somehow. Too young and too old. Too smooth and too wrinkled. And when I look carefully at my eyes, I can't quite see the bottom of them. The sun is fully up now. Paula, the ranger, is walking toward our site. She looks at me and nods like she expected to see me sitting here covered in dirt. "Told you to stay in your vehicle after dark," she says. "What are they?" I ask. "Those children?" "The wish takers. They've been here longer than the park, longer than the town, longer than the white men who mapped this land. They wait in the ground. They wait for someone who wants something badly enough to tear open the way between. Then they collect their price. Why can you see them?" Paula smiles sadly, "Because I'm one of them now. Have been for 37 years. My daughter wished for her father and me to stay together. I took her place, just like you took your daughter's. But I'm still here. I'm still me. Are you?" She gestures toward the RV. "Go look in a real mirror, a proper one." I stand up on shaking legs and climb into the RV. Jennifer and Macy are getting dressed, still talking and laughing. They glance at me but don't seem surprised by my appearance, don't seem concerned that I'm covered in dirt. I go to the bathroom and look in the mirror above the sink. The face looking back is mine, mostly. But the eyes are wrong. There's something hollow about them, something that goes back further than eyes should go. And my skin looks too pale, too smooth, like it's made of wax that might melt in direct sunlight. I open my mouth to scream, but what comes out is singing, that melody from last night, the wordless song of the wish takers. It rises from my throat without my permission, harmonizing with voices I can't see. I clap my hand over my mouth. The sound stops. Jennifer knocks on the bathroom door. "You okay in there, hon?" Han. She hasn't called me that in a year. I'm fine, I say. My voice sounds normal, human. We're thinking of staying another night. Maybe two. It's so beautiful here, don't you think? Through the small bathroom window I can see the eastern cliffs. In the early morning light I can see the caves at their base, dark openings in the rust-colored rock, and in those caves I can see candles. Hundreds of them, thousands, all burning steadily, waiting. Yeah, I say. Beautiful. That night another family will arrive at the park, a family with a daughter who wishes too hard for something she can't have. And when she does, I'll be waiting with my candle. I'll be standing at the edge of their campsite pointing toward the cliffs. I'll be singing that ancient song, because that's what we do. We wait, we collect, we replace. And somewhere in the ground beneath the San Rafael swell, in a shallow grave that will eventually be reclaimed by the desert, Derek Lawson is sleeping. The real Derek Lawson, the one who loved his daughter enough to die for her. I wonder if he dreams down there. I wonder if he knows that the thing wearing his face is packing up his family's RV, planning the drive home, smiling at his wife who loves him again, hugging his daughter who got her wish. I wonder if he knows that wishes always have a price. The candle in my pocket is warm. When no one's looking, I take it out and stare at the unlit wick. Tonight, when the stars come out, it will light on its own, and I will walk into the darkness and wait for the next one who needs to see. Jennifer calls my name from outside. Something about helping with the awning. I put the candle back in my pocket and go to her, smiling the way Derek Lawson would smile. The wish takers are patient. We have all the time in the world. We're very good at waiting. Story 2. My name is Mason Adams, and I need to tell someone what happened at Caddo Lake last October. Not because I expect anyone to believe me, I barely believe it myself, but because keeping it inside feels like swallowing broken glass. We pulled into the Caddo Lake State Park RV campground on a Thursday afternoon. Me, my girlfriend Rachel, and our mutual friends Chris and Jenna. The four of us had been planning this trip for months, ever since Chris bought his dad's old Winnebago after the funeral. Healing trip, he called it. Get out of Austin for a long weekend, disconnect, process grief in nature. All that therapeutic bullshit we tell ourselves actually works. The drive from Austin took about 4 hours. Rachel spent most of it reading true crime podcast transcripts on her phone, occasionally reading choice bits aloud. Chris drove, stoic as always, while Jenna navigated and provided color commentary on every small town we passed. I sat in the back, watching Texas flatten and green as we approached the Louisiana border. Caddo Lake sits on the Texas-Louisiana line, this sprawling cypress swamp that looks like it belongs in a Gothic novel. Spanish moss hangs from ancient trees, the water dark as coffee, and everywhere you look there's this sense of things hiding just beneath the surface. The park ranger who checked us in was friendly enough. Older guy, maybe 60, with sun-damaged skin and eyes that had seen a lot of seasons come and go. "Y'all here for the weekend?" he asked, processing Chris's reservation. "Through Monday," Chris said. "Long weekend." "Nice, you picked a good time, not too crowded. Just a couple other RVs scattered around." He marked something on his clipboard. "You're in Site 17. Take the main road all the way to the back loop. You'll see the markers." "Anything we should know about the area?" Rachel asked. She always asked questions like that. Wanted to know the local history, the stories, the stuff that made a place specific. The ranger smiled. "Don't feed the alligators. Stay on the marked trails. The lake can be disorienting if you're not used to swamp environments. All those cypress trees look the same after a while. And obviously, be careful if you're out after dark. Cell service is spotty, so if you get in trouble, you're about 20 minutes from help." Standard warnings. We thanked him and drove deeper into the park. Site 17 was at the far end of the campground, backing onto the swamp. The sites were well spaced, each carved out of the forest with just enough room for an RV and a picnic table. Nearest neighbors were at least 50 yards away on either side. An older couple with a pristine Airstream to our left, and what looked like a family with 2 kids to our right, though we didn't see them that first day. Chris backed the Winnebago into the space with practiced ease. The RV was a beast, 32 feet long, older, but well-maintained. His dad had loved the thing, taken it all over the Southwest. This was Chris's first trip with it since the inheritance. I could tell it weighed on him, using it without his father. We spent the rest of Thursday settling in. Jenna made a grocery run to the small store near the entrance. Rachel and I set up the outdoor chairs and got the propane connection working. Chris puttered around the RV, checking systems, adjusting things, keeping busy. That night we grilled burgers on the campsite's fire pit and drank beer while the sun set over the swamp. The mosquitoes were thick, but we'd come prepared with deep woods off and a portable fan. The darkness came quickly under the tree canopy, and with it came sounds, frogs, insects, occasional splashes from the lake that could have been anything. "This is exactly what I needed," Jenna said, leaning back in her chair. "No work emails, no traffic, just this." "Your phone's been vibrating for the last 10 minutes, Rachel pointed out. Jenna grimaced and checked it. "Shit, I forgot to set my out of office." She typed something quickly, then made a show of silencing the phone. "There, now I'm officially unreachable." We talked about nothing important, work gossip, mutual friends, plans for Thanksgiving. Normal conversation to fill the darkness. Around 11, Rachel and I headed to bed. The RV had a bedroom in the back that converted from the dinette, and Chris and Jenna took the master bedroom above the cab. Thin walls, but we were all adults. I woke up around 3 a.m. to use the tiny bathroom. The RV's AC unit hummed steadily, and through the small window I could see nothing but darkness and the vague shapes of trees. As I was washing my hands, I heard something outside. Not an animal sound, more like movement, deliberate footsteps on gravel. I stood still, listening. The footsteps circled the RV slowly, methodically. My first thought was raccoons, but the sound was wrong, too heavy, too evenly spaced. I thought about waking Chris, but the footsteps stopped. Just silence and the AC hum. I waited another minute, heard nothing else, and went back to bed. Rachel was still asleep, curled on her side. I lay there for a while, listening, but whatever had been outside was gone. Eventually, I drifted off. Friday morning was bright and humid. We made coffee and breakfast in the RV's cramped kitchen, then spent the day exploring. There were hiking trails throughout the park, and we picked an easy 3-mile loop that wound through the cypress forest. The swamp was beautiful in a primal way, water and wood and silence. We saw 2 alligators sunning themselves on a fallen log, neither larger than 4 feet. Birds everywhere. Rachel took probably 100 photos. "You think Chris is doing okay?" Rachel asked quietly, while Chris and Jenna were ahead of us on the trail. "Hard to tell with him," I said. "He's good at compartmentalizing. Losing a parent is different even when you see it coming." "Yeah." We walked in silence for a bit. The trail curved back toward the lake, and we had to navigate a boardwalk section over murky water. Jenna nearly slipped on the wet wood, and Chris caught her arm. They laughed it off, but I could see the tension in Chris's shoulders. Control was important to him, and grief was the opposite of control. That afternoon, we rented a small boat from the park office and motored out into the lake. The cypress trees grew right out of the water here, creating a maze of channels and dead ends. We got lost almost immediately, took a wrong turn, and ended up in a narrow passage barely wider than the boat. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" Rachel asked as branches scraped the boat's sides. "It all connects," Chris said, checking his phone. "GPS says the main channel is that way." He pointed left. "GPS is useless here," Jenna said. "Look at it, we're not even showing up in the right place." She was right. The map on Chris's phone showed us about 100 yards from where we actually were. The tree canopy was so thick it probably confused the satellite signal. We managed to find our way back eventually, but it took longer than it should have. By the time we returned to the campground, the sun was already setting. We were all tired, sunburned, ready for showers and dinner. "I call first shower," Jenna announced, heading into the RV. The shower in the Winnebago wasn't much, a tiny stall with a handheld sprayer and lukewarm water pressure, but after a day on the lake, it felt like luxury. We took turns, then Chris grilled chicken while Rachel made a salad. Another quiet evening, more beer. Conversation was easier tonight, looser. Chris even told a few stories about his dad, which felt like progress. Around midnight, we headed to bed. Rachel fell asleep quickly, but I lay awake, scrolling through my phone despite the terrible signal. Around 1 a.m. I heard it again. Footsteps outside, circling the RV in the same deliberate pattern as the night before. This time I got up immediately, moving quietly to the window. The campground had a few scattered lights, enough to see shapes but not details. I pressed my face to the glass, trying to see what was out there. Nothing. Just empty space between our RV and the trees, but the footsteps continued, crunching on gravel somewhere behind the vehicle where I couldn't see. I went to the front of the RV, moving through the dark kitchen. From the driver's seat window, I had a better angle. The footsteps had stopped. Everything was still. I waited, watching, but nothing moved. No animals, no people, nothing. When I turned around, I nearly screamed. Chris was standing in the hallway just outside the bedroom. "Fuck, man," I whispered. "You scared the shit out of me. Sorry. Heard you moving around. Everything okay?" "Yeah, I just thought I heard something outside." Chris came forward, looked out the window. "What kind of something?" "Footsteps, walking around the RV. I heard it last night too." We both stood there in the dark, listening. The AC hummed. Outside, insects chirped. Nothing else. "Probably an animal," Chris said. "Raccoons get into trash. They can sound almost human." "Yeah, probably." But Chris didn't go back to bed. He stood at the window for another few minutes, watching. Finally, he said, "Let me know if you hear it again." "Sure." He disappeared into the bedroom. I went back to Rachel, lay down, and tried to sleep. The footsteps didn't return that night. Saturday started normal enough. We had a lazy morning, then drove into the nearest town, a small place called Karnak, for supplies and lunch. The town was exactly what you'd expect. Old brick buildings, a diner, a gas station, and a general store that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. Population maybe 300. We ate lunch at the diner, a place called Loretta's that had excellent chicken fried steak and terrible coffee. An older woman served us, friendly but reserved in that way small-town people are with obvious tourists. "You all staying out at the park?" she asked while refilling our water. "Yeah," Jenna said. "Through Monday. It's beautiful out there." "It's something, that's for sure." The woman glanced toward the window, toward the direction of the lake. "Y'all be careful. Easy to get turned around in those woods." "We've been staying on the trails," Rachel assured her. "Good. That's good." She seemed like she wanted to say more, but another customer called for her attention. She left us with our check. On the drive back, Rachel brought up what happened with Chris and me the night before. Apparently, Jenna had heard the whole thing and told her. "You really think it was an animal?" Rachel asked. "I don't know what else it would be." "Could be another camper. Maybe someone drunk, confused about which site is theirs." At 1 in the morning, walking in circles around our RV? Rachel didn't have an answer for that. We got back to the campground around 3. The afternoon was brutally hot, so we spent it inside with the AC cranked, playing cards and reading. Chris seemed distracted, kept checking his phone even though there was barely any signal. "You expecting a call?" Jenna asked. "No, just habit, I guess." That evening we decided to have a fire. The site had a proper fire pit, and Chris had brought wood from Austin. We got it going as the sun set, and sat around it with drinks, watching the flames dance while the swamp grew dark around us. "I've been thinking about the RV," Chris said suddenly, "thinking maybe I should sell it." "What? Why?" Jenna asked. "I don't know. It feels weird using it, like I'm pretending to be my dad or something." "Your dad wanted you to have it," I said. "He spent a lot of time fixing it up." "I know, but every time I'm in it, I just..." He trailed off, staring into the fire. "Forget it. Too much beer making me maudlin." We let the subject drop. The conversation moved on to other things. Around 10, Rachel and I took a walk around the campground loop. Most of the other sites were dark, their occupants either asleep or out. The Airstream couple had their lights on, and we could see them through the window, watching something on a laptop. "They look nice," Rachel said. "Who?" "The old couple. I talked to the wife this morning. They've been coming here for 20 years, same site every time." "That's dedication." We walked in comfortable silence. The night was full of sounds: frogs, insects, occasional splashes from the lake. Nothing threatening, just nature doing its thing. When we got back to our site, Chris and Jenna had gone inside. The fire was dying. I added another log and we sat watching it for a while longer. "This was a good idea," Rachel said, "getting away. I think it's helping Chris." "Yeah." "You've been tense, though. Everything okay?" "Just work stuff. I'll deal with it when we get back." That was a lie. I'd been thinking about the footsteps, about how they'd sounded deliberate, purposeful, about how there was nothing to see when I looked. But I didn't want to worry Rachel, so I kept it to myself. We went to bed around midnight. I was exhausted from the heat and the beer, and fell asleep almost immediately. I woke up unable to breathe. Something was covering my mouth. Fabric, pressed tight. My hands were pulled behind my back, wrists bound together. I tried to move, to scream, to do anything, but my body wouldn't respond properly. Groggy, confused, panic rising. The bedroom was dark. I could hear Rachel breathing next to me, still asleep. I tried to make noise to wake her, but whatever was gagging me muffled everything to almost nothing. I managed to roll slightly, enough to see Rachel's outline. She was lying on her side, facing away from me. I tried to kick her, to get her attention, but my legs felt heavy, uncoordinated. Nothing was working right. Time did something strange then. I couldn't tell if seconds or minutes were passing. Everything felt slow and too fast simultaneously. I became aware of other sensations: rope around my ankles, the gag secured around my head, my heart hammering against my ribs. Eventually, I don't know how long, the grogginess started to lift. My thoughts cleared. The panic became more focused, more useful. I tested the restraints. Rope, tied competently but not professionally. I could feel a little give around my wrists. I rolled toward Rachel and managed to make contact, my bound hands hitting her back. She mumbled something, still asleep. I did it again, harder. She stirred, rolled over. "Mason?" "What?" Her voice cut off as she saw me in the dim light filtering through the window. I saw her eyes go wide, her mouth open to scream. "Rachel?" Jenna's voice from the other bedroom. "Everything okay?" Rachel was frozen, staring at me. Then she moved, suddenly pulling at the gag. Her hands were shaking, but she got it loose enough for me to spit it out. "What the fuck?" I gasped. "What the fuck? Oh my God. Oh my God." Rachel was pulling at the rope around my wrists. "Who did this? Chris? Jenna?" The main light flicked on. Chris appeared in the hallway, wearing boxers and a t-shirt, looking confused. "What's going on?" "Someone tied Mason up," Rachel said, her voice high and scared. "Someone came in here and—" "What?" Chris moved into the bedroom, saw me struggling with the ankle restraints while Rachel worked on my wrists. "Jesus. What happened?" "I don't know. I woke up like this. Someone gagged me, tied me up while I was sleeping." Jenna appeared behind Chris, wrapped in a sheet. Her face went pale when she saw me. Oh shit. The rope around my wrists came loose. I immediately went for my ankles while Rachel just kept saying, "Oh my God," over and over. Chris was looking around the bedroom like he might find whoever did this still hiding there. "Did anyone else wake up?" I asked once I got my legs free. "Did anyone hear anything?" "No," Jenna said. We were both asleep until Rachel started talking. "What time is it?" Chris checked his phone. 3:20. I stood up, legs shaky. The bedroom felt suddenly tiny, claustrophobic. I pushed past Chris into the main living area, checking the door. It was unlocked. "I locked this," I said. "Before bed, I know I did." "Are you sure?" Chris asked. "Yes, I'm fucking sure." Rachel came out of the bedroom hugging herself. "We need to call the police. Someone broke in here. Someone—" "And tell them what?" I said. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. That someone came into the RV, tied me up, and left without taking anything or hurting anyone? That's exactly what happened. But it sounds insane. And who would do that? Why? Nobody had an answer. We stood there in the harshly lit RV kitchen, all of us in various states of undress, trying to process what just happened. Could it have been a prank? Jenna suggested weakly. Like someone from another campsite, drunk, thought it would be funny? That's not funny, Rachel said. That's assault. God, that's so fucked up. Chris went to the door, looked outside. I don't see anyone. No lights on in the other sites. Check the windows, I said. All of them. Make sure they're locked. We went through the RV systematically. Every window was closed and latched from the inside. The only way in or out was the main door, which had been locked when I went to bed and was unlocked when I woke up. Okay, Chris said, clearly trying to think through it logically. So someone picked the lock or had a key, came in, did that, and left, without waking anyone else up. I must have been drugged, I said. I was so out of it when I woke up, couldn't coordinate my movements properly. Did you drink or take anything before bed? Just beer, same as everyone else. Rachel was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. Jenna put an arm around her. It's okay. Mason's okay. Whoever it was, they're gone now. Are they? Rachel asked. How do we know they're not still out there? None of us had an answer to that either. We spent the rest of the night awake. Chris and I sat in the front of the RV, watching through the windshield while the women tried to rest in the main bedroom. I couldn't stop replaying it, waking up unable to breathe, the confusion, the panic. And worse, the fact that someone had been in the RV, standing over me, touching me, restraining me, while I was unconscious or nearly so. Did you see anything? Chris asked quietly. Anyone? No. It was too dark, and I was too out of it. Rachel's right. We should call the police. And say what? I don't even know what happened. For all I know, I could have done it to myself somehow. Sleepwalking or... You think you tied yourself up and gagged yourself while unconscious? I don't know what to think. Dawn came slowly. We watched the sky lighten through the trees, watched the campground wake up. The Airstream couple emerged from their RV, started their morning routine. A family walked past toward the bathrooms. Everything looked normal, daylight making the night's events feel surreal. Rachel made coffee around 7. None of us had slept more than an hour or two. We sat around the dinette, exhausted and rattled. I think we should leave, Rachel said. Pack up and go home early. Let's not make any decisions until we've had coffee and breakfast, Jenna said. We're all exhausted. We're not thinking clearly. Someone broke in here. Someone assaulted Mason. That seems pretty clear to me. I know, but let's just take a breath, okay? Figure out our options. I appreciated what Jenna was trying to do, but Rachel was right. Staying felt wrong. The campground that had seemed peaceful yesterday now felt threatening. Every shadow between trees could be hiding someone. Every footstep on gravel could be them coming back. I'll make breakfast, Chris said, standing up. Then we'll decide. While he was cooking eggs on the small stove, there was a knock on the door. We all froze. Another knock. Mr. Adams? A voice from outside. It's Ranger Davis from the office, just doing morning rounds. Chris opened the door. The same older ranger who'd checked us in stood on the step, clipboard in hand, looking apologetic for the intrusion. Morning, folks. Just wanted to check in, see if you need anything. Noticed you were up early. We had a situation, Chris said. during the night. What kind of situation? Chris glanced back at me. I nodded. Someone came into our RV last night, Chris said. Assaulted my friend. The ranger's expression changed immediately. Assaulted? Are you okay? Do you need medical attention? I'm fine, I said, coming to the door. Someone tied me up while I was sleeping, gagged me, then left. Jesus Christ, did you see who it was? No, it was dark. I don't know if I was drugged or just really out of it, but I couldn't move properly when I woke up. The ranger pulled out a radio. Let me call the sheriff, this is serious. Wait, I said. Something about official involvement made it more real, more permanent. I need a minute to think. Son, if someone broke in here and assaulted you, that's a crime. We need to report it. I know, I looked at Rachel, at Chris and Jenna. They all looked as exhausted and scared as I felt. Okay, yeah, call them. The sheriff's deputy arrived 40 minutes later, a woman in her 30s with a practical haircut and a professional demeanor. She took my statement in the RV while the ranger waited outside. I told her everything I could remember, which wasn't much. She took photos of the rope and gag, which we'd left on the bed. Asked about my medical history, whether I'd been drinking, whether there were any relationship issues in the group. You think I did this to myself? I asked. I have to ask these questions. She said calmly, it helps us understand the full picture. Can you think of anyone who might want to harm you? Anyone following you? Any conflicts recently? No, nothing like that. I'm an accountant. I live a boring life. She took statements from Rachel, Chris, and Jenna too. None of them had heard anything. The deputy examined the door lock, the windows, found no signs of forced entry. I'm going to be honest with you, she said finally. Without any witnesses or physical evidence of an intruder, this is going to be difficult to investigate. I'll file a report, and we can dust for prints if you want. But in my experience, cases like this what? They don't usually go anywhere. I'm sorry. That's not what you want to hear. So you think I'm lying? I didn't say that. I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. But I'd recommend you folks maybe cut your trip short. If there is someone targeting you, there's no point staying and giving them another opportunity. After she left, we sat in silence. The ranger had moved on to check the other sites. Through the window, I could see the Airstream couple packing up, getting ready to leave. They're probably freaked out, Jenna said, watching them. Word travels fast in a small campground. Can't blame them, Rachel said. I want to leave too. Let's pack up, Chris said. Get out of here. We can still salvage the weekend. Maybe find a hotel in Shreveport, spend tomorrow doing something normal. But staying here feels wrong now. We started breaking down the campsite. It took about an hour to disconnect the utilities, stow everything, and prepare the RV for travel. The morning was hot and humid, and I was sweating through my shirt by the time we finished. Chris was doing a final check of the undercarriage when the ranger appeared again. Heading out? He asked. Yeah, Chris said. After everything that happened, we don't feel safe. I understand. I'm sorry your trip was ruined. For what it's worth, we've never had an incident like this before. This is a very safe park. Until it wasn't, Rachel muttered. The ranger looked uncomfortable. If you need anything, if you remember anything else, here's my card. You can reach me directly. Chris took the card. Thanks. We pulled out of the campground around 11. I sat in the passenger seat while Chris drove, watching the cypress swamps roll past. Rachel and Jenna were in back, both quiet. The mood was heavy, defeated. I'm sorry, Chris said after a while. This was supposed to be relaxing, supposed to help. Not your fault, I said. I know, but I dragged everyone out here. And now this happened and... Chris, not your fault. He nodded, but didn't look convinced. We were about 20 miles from the campground when Rachel said, Does anyone else feel weird? I turned around. She was rubbing her temples, looking pale. Weird how? Jenna asked. I don't know. Dizzy. Nauseous. You probably didn't eat enough breakfast, Jenna said. We all barely ate. Maybe. But a few minutes later, Jenna said she felt strange too. Lightheaded, like she might pass out. We should stop, I said to Chris. Let them get some air. Chris pulled into a gas station in a tiny town I didn't catch the name of. Population sign said 137. The gas station was old but clean, with 2 pumps and a small convenience store attached. Rachel and Jenna got out, leaning against the RV in the shade. Both looked genuinely ill, pale, sweating. Chris went inside to buy water and snacks. I stood there feeling useless, watching cars pass on the state highway. A truck with a camper shell, a sedan with Louisiana plates, a minivan full of kids. Normal people doing normal things, completely unaware that something was very wrong with us. Chris came back with bottles of water and granola bars. Rachel drank, but couldn't eat. Jenna managed a few bites before waving the rest away. You guys okay? Chris asked. I don't know, Rachel said. I feel really off. Maybe we should find a hospital. No, Jenna said quickly. No, I'm sure it's just stress. From everything that happened, let's just get home. We got back in the RV. Chris drove slower now, checking on the women every few minutes. They both lay down in the back trying to rest. I stayed up front, watching the road, trying not to think about what happened. Around 1 p.m., Rachel screamed. I spun around. She was sitting up, staring at her arm. Something bit me, something. I went back to her. Her arm had a red mark, like a spider bite. Did you see what it was? No, I just felt it. She was breathing fast, panicked. What if it's a brown recluse? What if... It's okay. Let me see. I examined the mark. It didn't look serious, just red, slightly raised. I don't think it's a brown recluse. Those bites are usually worse. This looks like maybe a mosquito or... Jenna gasped. I have one too. She held up her wrist. Same mark, same size, same location on the inside of the arm. Okay, that's weird, Chris said from the driver's seat. Did you guys both get bitten? I guess, Jenna said. I didn't feel anything. Neither did I until just now, Rachel said. I checked my own arms. Nothing. Chris, you? No, nothing. We kept driving. The women took antihistamines from the first aid kit just in case. The bites didn't get worse, but they didn't feel any better either. Both Rachel and Jenna drifted in and out of sleep, exhausted. Around 3 p.m. we hit traffic, construction on the highway, reducing it to 1 lane. We sat there for 20 minutes, barely moving. The AC was struggling to keep up with the heat. Chris was tense behind the wheel, drumming his fingers. This is bullshit, he muttered. It's fine, I said. We're not in a hurry. But we were. We all wanted to get home, to put distance between ourselves and whatever happened at Caddo Lake. Every minute on the road felt like exposure, like vulnerability. The traffic finally cleared. We made it another hour before Jenna said, I need to use the bathroom. Can you hold it? Chris asked. We're only about an hour from Austin. No, sorry, I really need to go. Chris pulled off at the next exit. Another small town, another gas station. This one was more rundown. The parking lot cracked asphalt and weeds, but it had bathrooms. Jenna and Rachel both went inside while Chris filled the tank. I stayed with the RV, leaning against it, trying to enjoy just standing still for a minute. A car pulled up to the pump behind us, an old Buick with tinted windows. The driver got out, a man in his 50s wearing a cowboy hat and boots. He nodded at me. How's it going? He asked. Fine, I said. Long trip? Long weekend? Heading home? Where from? Something about his questions felt off. Too interested, too friendly. Around, I said vaguely. He smiled. You look tired. Everything okay? Fine. You sure? You look like you've had a rough couple days. I stared at him. His smile didn't reach his eyes. They were cold, assessing. I'm fine, I repeated. Okay then, safe travels. He filled his tank and left. I watched his car disappear down the road, feeling unsettled. Chris finished pumping gas and went inside to pay. I stayed outside, watching the road, feeling exposed. Rachel and Jenna came out looking better. More color in their faces, less shaky. We got back in the RV and continued driving. "Who was that guy you were talking to?" Rachel asked. "What guy?" "At the gas station. Older man, cowboy hat." "Nobody, just making conversation." "He was watching us," Rachel said. "When we came out of the bathroom, he was standing by his car, just staring." "Probably thought you guys were attractive," Jenna said. "Creepy old men gonna creep." But it didn't feel like that. It felt more deliberate, more knowing. We made it back to Austin by 7 p.m. Chris dropped Rachel and me at our apartment, then drove Jenna to hers across town. He said he'd return in the morning to talk, to figure out what to do next. Our apartment felt like a sanctuary, familiar and safe. Rachel went straight to the shower while I unpacked our stuff. Everything from the trip felt contaminated now, tainted by what happened. I wanted to throw it all away. Rachel came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. "I can still feel it," she said. "The gag, like it's still there." "I know." "Do you think we should go to the hospital? Get checked out?" "Maybe. Let's see how we feel tomorrow." We ordered takeout and ate in front of the TV, watching something mindless and comforting. Rachel fell asleep on the couch around 9. I carried her to bed, then lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. Every sound made me tense, the building settling, cars outside, our neighbor's TV through the wall. I got up 3 times to check that the door was locked, that the windows were secure. Around 2 a.m., I finally drifted off. I woke up unable to breathe. The gag was back. The ropes, my hands behind my back, ankles bound. The same sensation of confusion, of grogginess, of panic rising in my throat. But this time, I was ready. I'd been expecting it somehow. I rolled hard, trying to make noise, trying to wake Rachel. Hit the nightstand with my shoulder. Heard something crash. "Mason?" Rachel's voice, thick with sleep. Then, "Oh God. Oh God, not again." She pulled the gag off, started working on the ropes. She was crying, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the knots. "How?" she kept saying. "How? We're in our apartment. The door was locked. How?" I got my wrists free, then my ankles, stood up on shaky legs. The bedroom door was closed. I opened it, checked the living room, empty, checked the front door, locked from the inside, chain engaged, checked every window, all locked. "This isn't possible," I said. "This can't be happening." Rachel was sitting on the bed, rocking slightly, her arms wrapped around herself. "Someone's doing this to you. Someone wants to hurt you." "But how? How are they getting in?" I don't know. I called Chris. It rang 6 times before he answered, voice rough with sleep. "Mason? It's 3 in the morning." It happened again. Silence. Then, "What?" "Someone tied me up again. Same thing. In my own apartment. The door was locked, Chris. Everything was locked." "Jesus. Okay, I'm coming over." He arrived 20 minutes later. By then I'd checked the apartment 3 more times, looking for any sign of how someone could have gotten in. Nothing. Rachel had made coffee and was sitting at the kitchen table, pale and scared. Chris listened to everything, examined the ropes and gag, checked the locks himself. His face was grave. "This is beyond pranks," he said. I don't even know what this is." "We need to call the police," Rachel said. "And tell them what? That someone broke into a locked apartment and tied up Mason? They'll think he's doing it to himself. He's not. I was right there. I would have woken up if he got out of bed. I'm just saying what they'll think." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You can't lock me out." I showed it to Chris and Rachel. Rachel made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. "Okay," Chris said. Now we have evidence. Screenshot that and send it to yourself from another device in case they try to delete it. Then call the police. I did. The police arrived an hour later. 2 officers, both young, both looking skeptical. They took my statement, examined the ropes, looked at the text message, asked the same questions the deputy at the campground had asked: medical history, relationship issues, substance abuse. Have you considered that you might be experiencing a psychological episode? One officer asked. The stress from the initial incident might be causing you to. I'm not tying myself up, I said. I'm not sending myself threatening texts from blocked numbers. Someone is targeting me. Then who? Do you have any enemies? Anyone who might want to hurt you? No, I'm an accountant. I don't have enemies. They took a report, but I could tell they didn't believe me. They left around 5 a.m. promising to look into it. Rachel and I sat in the growing dawn light, exhausted and terrified. I can't stay here, Rachel said. I'm sorry, I love you, but I can't. If this keeps happening, I can't be here. I understand. Do you? Yeah. You need to be safe, I get it. She started crying. I don't want to leave you alone, but I'm so scared. It's okay. Go stay with your sister, just for a few days until we figure this out. She packed a bag and left around 7. After she was gone, the apartment felt enormous and empty. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing, trying to think. The sun rose. Another day. I called in sick to work. Chris texted to check on me. Jenna sent a long message saying she was here if I needed anything. Everyone being supportive, everyone being concerned, but no one having any answers. I spent the day online, researching, looking up cases of stalking, of home invasion, of I didn't even know what. Nothing matched. Nothing made sense. Around noon, I got another text from the unknown number. Sleep well tonight. I called the detective assigned to my case. He said they were working on tracing the number, but it was probably a burner phone. He said to keep documenting everything. He said I should consider staying somewhere else. But where? If they could get into my locked apartment, they could get in anywhere. At least here I knew the layout, knew where everything was. At least here I could see them coming. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with all the lights on, a kitchen knife on the coffee table, watching the door. Every sound made me jump. Every car passing outside made my heart race. 3 a.m. came and went. Nothing happened. 4 a.m. Still nothing. 5 a.m. The sun started to rise. I'd made it through the night. Around 8, Chris showed up with coffee and breakfast tacos. He looked rough, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. You look terrible, he said. You should see the other guy. We sat at the kitchen table. I ate the taco without tasting it. Chris watched me with concern. Rachel told me she's staying with her sister, he said. Yeah. I don't blame her. Neither do I. But you shouldn't be alone. Come stay with me and Jenna for a few days. We have a guest room. I can't bring this to you guys, whoever's doing this. Fuck that. You're my friend. You don't go through this alone. So I packed a bag and went to their place. A small house in South Austin, neat and comfortable. Jenna had made up the guest room, put fresh sheets on the bed. She hugged me when I arrived, held on longer than usual. We're going to figure this out, she said. That night I slept in their guest room. Chris and Jenna were down the hall. I left the door open, left a light on in the hallway, lay there waiting for it to happen again. Nothing. The next night, same thing. Nothing. By the 3rd night I was starting to think maybe it had stopped. Maybe whoever was doing this had moved on, found a new target. Maybe I'd gotten lucky. That's when it happened to Chris. He woke me up around 4 a.m., pounding on the guest room door. When I opened it, he was standing there with rope marks on his wrists, a gag around his neck that he'd pulled down. What the fuck? He said. What the fuck is happening? Jenna was behind him crying. I woke up and he was just tied up next to me. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anyone. We went through the same process. Checking the house, checking the locks, finding nothing. Chris was shaking, his usual calm completely shattered. "This isn't possible," he kept saying. "This violates every law of physics. People can't just appear and disappear." "It happened at the campground," I said. "It happened in my apartment. Now it's happened here. It follows me." "Then you need to leave," Jenna said. Not mean, just practical. "If it follows you, you can't stay here." "Yeah, okay, I'll go." I packed up and left before dawn, drove around aimlessly trying to figure out where to go, checked into a cheap motel near the airport, the kind of place that rents by the hour, with suspicious stains and locks that barely work. I sat on the bed staring at the wall and thought about calling Rachel, thought about apologizing for bringing this into our lives. But what was there to say? "I'm sorry I'm being stalked by someone who can walk through locked doors." My phone buzzed. The unknown number. Running won't help. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. I put my head in my hands and tried not to completely lose it. That night I didn't even try to sleep. Just sat in the desk chair with the lights on, watching the door. Around midnight someone knocked. I froze. Another knock. "Mason? It's me." Rachel's voice. I opened the door. She stood there with an overnight bag, looking determined. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I tracked your phone, and I realized I'm not leaving you to deal with this alone, whatever this is." "Rachel, it's not safe." "I don't care. We're together. That's how this works." She came in, sat on the bed. We spent the night talking, trying to make sense of everything, made lists of everyone who might have a grudge against me, discussed theories, stalker, cult, government experiment, supernatural entity. Nothing sounded less crazy than anything else. Around 4 a.m., we both must have dozed off. I woke up in the chair. Rachel was on the bed. She was tied up. Not gagged this time. Just her wrists bound behind her back, ankles tied together. She was still asleep, breathing steadily. I rushed over, started untying her. She woke up as I got her wrists free. "What?" She saw the ropes, looked at me. No, not me too. It's okay. You're okay." "Why would they do this to me? It's not me they want." "I don't know." She started crying, that panicked kind of crying where you can't catch your breath. I held her while she shook, both of us sitting on that terrible motel bed, surrounded by evidence that something was very, very wrong with our reality. The sun came up. We didn't talk about what to do next. There was nothing to do. Nowhere to run. No one to call who could help. Around 9, my phone rang. "Chris." "Where are you?" he asked. "Motel near the airport." "Are you okay?" "No, they got Rachel last night." Silence. Then, "Jenna too. Just her though, not me this time." Jesus Christ. "Mason, I've been thinking about the timing. It started at the campground, right? After we got there." "Yeah." "What if it's something we brought back with us? Something from the lake?" "Like what? A curse?" "I don't know. But traditional logic isn't working here. Maybe we need to think bigger." "You want to go back," I said. "To the campground." "Yeah, maybe if we go back we can figure out what we triggered or end it somehow." "That's insane. You have a better idea?" I didn't. We agreed to meet at Chris's place. Rachel and I checked out of the motel and drove over. Jenna looked worse than any of us, hollow-eyed, jumpy. She kept rubbing her wrists where the rope had been. "I can't keep living like this," she said. "Every time I close my eyes, I think it's going to happen again." "So we go back," Chris said. "All of us. Today. We figure out what's at that campground and we end it." "Or we die trying," Rachel said. "Better than this. This slow torture, waiting for it to happen again." We loaded into Chris's car. He didn't want to take the RV, said it had too many bad associations. The drive to Caddo Lake took 4 hours. None of us spoke much. What was there to say? We arrived at the park entrance around 3 p.m. The ranger station was closed, Nobody at the gate. We drove through without checking in. The campground looked the same as when we'd left. Peaceful, quiet, shadows between the cypress trees. Site 17 was empty. We parked and got out. Everything felt wrong. The air too still, the silence too complete. No birds, no insects, just dead quiet. Now what? Jenna asked. We look around, Chris said. We try to find something that explains this. We searched the area around the site, found nothing unusual. No symbols, no buried objects, no evidence of anything occult or strange, just dirt and trees and the dark water of the lake. This was stupid, Rachel said, coming back here. This was so stupid. Then I heard it. Footsteps on gravel. That same deliberate circling pattern from the first night. We all froze, listening. The footsteps came closer. A figure emerged from the trees. It was me. I mean, it looked like me. Same height, same face, same clothes I'd worn the day we arrived at the campground. But something was wrong with it. The proportions slightly off, the movements too smooth. It smiled at us with my face. What the fuck? I whispered. The thing wearing my face tilted its head. You shouldn't have come back. Its voice was mine but hollow, empty. It took a step forward. We all took a step back. What are you? Chris asked. I'm Mason, it said. The Mason who died here. The Mason who never left. That's not possible, I said. I'm Mason. I'm standing right here. Are you? The thing reached out with my hand. Its fingers were too long, I realized. The proportions I'd noticed were wrong in specific ways. Elongated limbs, neck slightly too thin. A copy made by something that didn't quite understand human anatomy. The lake takes things, it said. Experiences. Possibilities. You came here carrying grief and fear and pain. The lake drank it, made something new. That doesn't make sense, Jenna said. Doesn't it? You felt it. That first night. The water here is old. It remembers. It reaches. I thought about waking up tied and gagged, about the confusion, the terror, about how it had followed me home, spread to the others. You've been doing this, I said. The restraints, the texts, all of it. Not me, the thing said. You. The you that stays here. The you that never leaves. This place has so many yous now. So many versions that loop and repeat. Make it stop, Rachel said. Please, whatever this is, make it stop. The thing laughed with my voice. It doesn't stop, that's the point. The lake keeps you, pieces of you. You leave thinking you've escaped, but you carry it home, and every night it pulls you back, reminds you that you never really left. It was walking toward us still. We backed toward the car. The thing smiled wider than a human mouth should go. Run if you want, it said. You'll just be back tomorrow night, and the night after. And after. Until eventually, you give up and stay. We ran, got in the car. Chris started it, threw it in reverse. The thing stood in the middle of the campsite, watching us with its two long fingers and wrong smile. As we drove away, I looked back. It was waving. We made it out of the park. Drove for an hour before anyone spoke. Did that really happen? Jenna asked. I don't know what's real anymore, Rachel said. We drove back to Austin in silence, dropped everyone at their homes. Chris said we should meet tomorrow, figure out what to do next. But his voice was hollow. He didn't believe there was anything to be done. Rachel and I went back to our apartment. Neither of us suggested sleeping in the same bed. She took the couch, I took the bedroom, we left all the lights on. I'm writing this now because I need someone to know, in case whatever happens next, in case I can't tell the story myself. The sun is coming up. Rachel is asleep in the living room. My wrists ache where the ropes have been night after night. I don't know what happens tonight. Maybe nothing. Maybe it was all a hallucination, brought on by stress and fear. Maybe there's a rational explanation for everything that happened, but I don't think so. I can feel it now, like an itch under my skin. The pull, the lake calling. Part of me is still there, has always been there, will always be there. Chris texted an hour ago. Just 3 words. It happened again. Jenna posted on social media at 3 a.m. Can't wake up, can't wake up, can't wake up. Rachel's stirring now on the couch. I should go check on her. But I'm afraid. Afraid of what I'll find. Afraid she'll be bound and gagged like all the others. Afraid that when she wakes up, she won't really be Rachel anymore. The sun is fully up now. I should feel safe. But safety is an illusion. The lake has us. Had us from the moment we pulled into Site 17. Maybe even before that. Maybe it was waiting for us, knew we were coming, prepared versions of ourselves to trap us with. I'm so tired. Rachel just called out. Her voice sounds wrong. Too smooth, too empty. I don't want to go out there. But I will. Because what choice is there? When the lake calls, you answer. When your reflection wants out, you let it through. When the rope appears around your wrists each night, you learn to accept it. You learn that some doors lock from both sides, some trips have no return date. The person typing this now, is it me, the original Mason, or one of the copies, convinced it's real, writing a story it thinks is its own? I don't know anymore. And I think that's the point. The lake wants you confused, wants you questioning. Because once you start doubting your own existence, once you're not sure which version of yourself is real, it doesn't matter if you leave or stay. You're already gone. Rachel's calling again. Says we need to talk. Says she has an idea about how to stop this. But I've heard that before in my dreams, in the spaces between sleeping and waking. And I know how it ends. It ends with rope and gag and darkness. It ends with something wearing your face knocking on your door. It ends at Caddo Lake, Site 17, where the cypress trees grow out of black water, and the moss hangs like funeral shrouds, and your reflection smiles before you do. I'm going to see what Rachel wants now. I'll update this if I can, if I'm still me, if there's still a me to be. The door is opening. Story 3. My name is Sophia Turner, and I need to write this down while I can still remember what normal feels like. We found the valley 3 days into our cross-country RV trip. Me, my husband Marcus, and our 8-year-old daughter Zoe. We'd been driving through Nevada, trying to make it to the Ruby Mountains before sunset, when our GPS started acting strange. Take the next right, the voice said. Marcus glanced at the screen. There's no right turn here. But there was, a dirt road, unmarked, cutting between 2 hills that looked like they'd been carved with a butter knife. The GPS kept insisting, so Marcus took it. We'd been driving for 6 hours straight, and he was tired of arguing with technology. The road wound through scrubland for maybe 20 minutes before opening into something impossible. A valley, green, lush, with a small lake at the center and what looked like RV hookups along the western edge. Trees I couldn't name, grass that shouldn't exist in this part of Nevada. Well, Marcus said, that's lucky. I pulled out my phone to check our location. No signal. I opened Google Maps, waited for it to load from the cache. The blue dot showing our position sat in the middle of blank space. Not wilderness, not a park. Just white nothing, like the map hadn't finished loading. Marcus, this isn't showing up. Network's probably spotty out here. He was already pulling into the camping area. Look, there's power hookups and everything. We'll save money not staying at a real campground. Zoe pressed her face against the window. It's pretty. It was. That was the problem. Everything about it felt curated, like someone had designed the perfect camping spot and dropped it in the middle of nowhere. The grass was too green. The lake was too still. Even the trees seemed positioned for maximum aesthetic effect. But we were tired, and it was free, and Marcus had already found a level spot near the lake. We set up camp as the sun dropped toward the horizon. Marcus connected us to power while I made dinner. Zoe played by the lake, skipping stones. Normal family vacation stuff. Mom, why doesn't the water move? Zoe called out. I walked over. She was right. The lake sat perfectly flat, like glass. No ripples from wind, no movement at all. It's just calm water, sweetie. But I threw rocks in it. They didn't make ripples. I watched her throw another stone. It hit the surface and sank. No splash, no waves. The water swallowed it and remained perfectly still. Huh, I said. Told you. Marcus grilled burgers while I tried my phone again. Still no signal. The GPS showed the same blank space. I opened satellite view. Nothing. Just white. Marcus, can you check your phone? He pulled it out, glanced at it. Dead. Probably needs charging. It was at 60% when we got here. Battery must be going bad. He plugged it into the RV's USB port. We'll charge them overnight. Dinner was quiet. We ate outside at the picnic table that had been there when we arrived. Nice table, solid wood, looked new. No names carved in it. No bird shit. Just clean, perfect wood. Anyone else camp here? I asked. Marcus looked around. Don't see any other RVs. No, I mean, there's a table, hookups. Someone maintains this place. Probably BLM land. They do that sometimes, but I'd camped on BLM land before. It didn't look like this. Zoe went to bed around 9. Marcus and I sat outside for a while, drinking beer, watching the stars. They were bright out here. Too bright, maybe. Like someone had turned up the contrast on the night sky. You okay? Marcus asked. Yeah, just tired. You seem tense. I was. I couldn't explain why. Everything felt slightly off, like a picture that's been photoshopped, but you can't quite identify what's been changed. We went to bed around 11. The RV's queen bed sat at the back, Zoe in her bunk up front. I lay awake, listening to Marcus breathe. Outside, the valley was silent. No crickets, no wind, nothing. I got up around midnight to pee. On my way back from the bathroom, I glanced out the window toward the lake. Someone was standing by the water. I froze. They were maybe 50 yards away, just a silhouette against the starlight. Tall, thin, perfectly still. I watched for maybe a minute. They didn't move, didn't shift weight, didn't do anything human. Then they were gone. Not walking away, just gone. Like they'd never been there. I got back in bed. Told myself I'd been half asleep, seeing things. Marcus would think I was crazy if I woke him up. I didn't sleep much that night. Morning came without any obvious sunrise. The light just gradually increased, like someone was slowly turning up a dimmer switch. I was already awake, had been for hours. Marcus made coffee, so he wanted to swim in the lake, but I told her no. Why not? Water's probably cold. But we're in the desert. Just not today, okay? She pouted but didn't argue. Marcus wanted to hike around the valley, maybe find a trail. I said I'd stay with the RV. He gave me a look but didn't push it. Come on, Zoe, let's explore. They left around 10. I watched them follow the lake's edge, Marcus taking pictures with his phone. Mine still had no signal. His was supposedly charged but kept showing a black screen when I tried to turn it on. I spent the morning cleaning the RV, organizing things, trying to keep busy. Around noon, I looked up and realized I couldn't see them anymore. I called Marcus's phone. It rang once, then died. I stepped outside. Marcus, Zoe. My voice didn't echo. It just stopped, like the air swallowed it. I walked toward where I'd last seen them, following the lake. The water remained perfectly still. I kept checking it, watching for ripples, for any sign of movement. Nothing. The path curved around the lake's southern edge. I followed it for maybe 20 minutes before I started seeing the RV again. I stopped. I was back where I'd started, but I'd walked in a straight line. The lake was circular, sure, but not that small. I should have been on the opposite side. I turned around and walked the other direction. Kept my eyes on landmarks. A distinctive tree, a rock formation. Walked for 30 minutes this time. Ended up back at the RV. I tried again. Same result. Marcus, I screamed. Zoe. Nothing. I went back inside the RV, sat at the table, tried to think. My phone showed 12:47 p.m. I watched the numbers. They didn't change. At some point, I don't know how much later, the door opened. Marcus and Zoe climbed in, both smiling. That was amazing, Marcus said. We found these incredible rock formations and… Where were you? He blinked. Hiking, like I said. I couldn't find you. I walked around the whole lake. We went into the hills a bit, didn't mean to worry you. But I'd watched them follow the lake. They hadn't gone into any hills. Zoe headed to her bunk. I followed Marcus to the back. Something's wrong with this place, I said quietly. What do you mean? I can't get any signal. The GPS doesn't show it. I just walked in circles for an hour. You're stressed. Long drive, unfamiliar place. Marcus, I'm serious. We should leave. He looked at me like I was being difficult. That look I'd seen 1,000 times in our marriage when I expressed concern about something he'd already decided. Let's just stay tonight. We're already set up. We'll head out first thing tomorrow. I want to leave now. Sophia, now Marcus. He sighed. Fine. I'll start packing up. It took about an hour to disconnect everything, secure the RV. Zoe sat inside, reading. She hadn't said much since they'd gotten back. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat. I took passenger side. He started the engine. We drove toward the exit, the dirt road we'd come in on. Except there was no exit. Marcus drove around the valley's perimeter. No road. Just unbroken hills and scrubland surrounding us on all sides. It was right here, he said. I know it was here. We circled twice more. Nothing. Maybe we came in from a different angle, I suggested. But there was only one area with hookups, one place we could have parked. We hadn't gotten turned around. Marcus pulled back to our spot, killed the engine. We'll figure it out in the morning, he said. Marcus. I'm tired, Sophia. Let's sleep on it. He went inside. I stood outside for a while, looking at the hills, trying to remember exactly where we'd entered. Everything looked the same, like a loop, like a pattern repeating. Zoe came out, stood next to me. Mommy, I don't like it here. I know, baby. The man by the lake is scary. My blood went cold. What man? The one who watches at night. Did you see him last night? She nodded. Did he do anything? Just watched. But he smiled. I didn't like his smile. I held her tight. Stay in the RV tonight, okay? Don't go outside for any reason. That night I didn't sleep at all. I sat by the window watching. Around 2 a.m. he appeared again. Same spot. Same perfectly still posture. This time he was closer. Maybe 30 yards away. I stared at him. He stared back. Or I thought he did. Hard to tell from that distance in the dark. Around 4 a.m. he moved. Not walking. Just suddenly 10 yards closer. Like he'd teleported. I watched him for another hour. Every time I blinked, he was closer. By dawn, he was maybe 5 yards from the RV. When the light came up, he was gone. Marcus didn't believe me. You were tired seeing things. Zoe saw him too. He paused. Kids have nightmares. This isn't a nightmare. Marcus, please. We need to try harder to find the exit. I'll look again after breakfast. But I could tell he thought I was losing it. That look of patient concern people get when they think you're cracking up. After we ate, I watched him walk the perimeter again. He was gone maybe 2 hours. Came back looking frustrated. I don't understand it, he said. The road should be here. Because it's not supposed to exist, I said. This whole place. Marcus, look at your Maps app. Really look. He pulled out his phone. It was working now, fully charged. He opened the maps, stared at the blank space where we were. That's just a glitch. Is it? Has to be. But his voice was uncertain now. Zoe spent the day inside coloring. She didn't want to go out, didn't want to play. Just sat at the table drawing the same picture over and over. I looked at one. It showed stick figures, us, inside a circle. Outside the circle, a tall black figure. Zoe, who's that? The man. What does he want? She kept coloring. He wants us to stay. That night we locked the RV doors. All of them. Marcus checked the windows, made sure everything was secure. This is ridiculous, he said. We're safe. But he was scared. I could tell. Around midnight, someone knocked on the door. We all heard it. 3 steady knocks. Marcus looked at me. I shook my head. Another 3 knocks. Hello? A voice called out. Male, friendly. Sorry to bother you. My car broke down a few miles back. Could I use your phone? Marcus reached for the door handle. I grabbed his arm. Don't. Sophia, someone needs help. No one's car broke down. There's no road. He paused, looking at the door. Hello? The voice came again. I know you're in there. I saw your lights. We stayed silent. The voice changed. Still friendly, but different somehow. Flatter. I just need to use your phone. Please. My wife is in the car. She's hurt. Zoe started crying quietly. I know you can hear me. Please. Please help us. The please sounded wrong. Like someone saying a word they'd learned phonetically but didn't understand. We waited. The voice kept talking for maybe 10 minutes, then stopped. In the morning, there were no footprints outside the door. Day 3, or maybe day 4. My phone still showed the same time, 12:47 p.m., no matter what. Marcus's worked, but the date seemed wrong. It kept jumping. August 15th, August 18th, August 9th. We tried to leave again. Drove around the entire perimeter, this time taking careful notes of landmarks. After 2 hours, we were back where we started. Maybe we need to go on foot, Marcus said. Over the hills. No. Sophia, we can't just stay here. We can't split up, and we can't take Zoe out there. So what do you suggest? I didn't have an answer. That afternoon, Marcus tried anyway. Said he'd climb the hills, see what was on the other side. I begged him not to. We argued. He went anyway. I watched him climb. He got maybe halfway up the nearest hill before he disappeared. Not over the top. Just gone. I screamed his name. 30 seconds later, he was walking toward the RV from the opposite direction. From the lakeside. That was weird, he said. I swear I was climbing up and then suddenly I was down by the water. You disappeared. I what? 1 second you were on the hill, the next you were gone. He looked back at the hill. That's not possible. But we both knew nothing here was possible. That night the man appeared again, right outside our window. I could see him clearly this time. He looked normal. Jeans, flannel shirt, work boots, clean cut, maybe 40. Smiling. He waved. I closed the curtains. Who's out there? Marcus asked. Don't look. But he did. Pulled the curtain back slightly. That's just another camper. Maybe he knows the way out. Marcus, no. He was already unlocking the door. Wait here, he said. He stepped outside. I watched through the window. The man walked up to him. They talked. Marcus nodded, laughed at something. Normal conversation. Then Marcus turned and looked at the RV. His face was blank. Not angry, not scared, just empty. He walked toward the lake with the man. I ran outside. Marcus. He kept walking. I grabbed his arm. He looked at me like he didn't know who I was. Marcus, come back inside. He's going to show me the way out, Marcus said. His voice was flat. No, he's not. He knows this place. Marcus, look at me, please. He blinked. Something shifted in his eyes. Recognition. Sophia, come inside, now. The man was still smiling, standing by the lake, waiting. I pulled Marcus back to the RV. He came willingly, like waking from a trance. Inside, he sat at the table. What happened? You went outside. I don't remember that. Zoe was crying in her bunk. I held her. It's okay, baby. Daddy's okay. But we weren't okay. Marcus slept most of the next day. When he was awake, he seemed confused, kept asking where we were, why we'd stopped here. To camp, I told him. We're camping. But we need to get to the mountains. We will. I didn't tell him we'd been here 3 days or 4. I'd lost track. Zoe hadn't spoken since last night, just sat in her bunk, staring. I tried to keep things normal. Made meals, cleaned, told myself this would pass, we'd find a way out. But the valley was changing. Small things at first. The trees were closer than before. The lake was bigger. The hills seemed taller. Or maybe we were smaller. I couldn't tell anymore. That evening I looked at our photos from before we'd arrived. The ones from the drive through Nevada. Except they weren't there. The phone showed camping photos. Just camping. Like we'd always been here. I checked Marcus's phone. Same thing. I looked at the timestamps. They showed dates from 2 months ago. We'd been on the road for a week. My hands were shaking. I walked outside, trying to breathe. The sun was setting, or what passed for a sunset here. The light just gradually decreasing, no actual sun visible. The man was standing by the lake, closer than before. "Hello, Sophia," he called out. I didn't answer. "I know you're confused. That's normal. Leave us alone." "I can't do that. This is where you are now. We're leaving." He tilted his head. "Are you?" I went back inside, locked the door. Marcus was sitting up, looking more alert. "Sophia, where are we?" "In Nevada. Camping." "No." He looked around the RV. "This isn't right. Something's wrong." "I know." "How long have we been here?" "I don't know." He stood up wobbly, went to the window, looked out. "That man. Don't look at him. He's waving. Marcus, please. He wants us to come out." "No." But Marcus was already moving toward the door. I grabbed him. "Daddy?" Zoe's voice, small and scared. That stopped him. He looked at her, then at me. "We can't stay here," he said. "I know. So what do we do?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. That night, I made a decision. While Marcus slept, while Zoe was quiet in her bunk, I wrote everything down. This account. What happened. How we got here. I don't know if anyone will read this. I don't know if we'll ever leave. But I need to record it. Need to make it real. Because I'm starting to forget. Starting to think maybe we've always been here. Maybe there was never a world outside this valley. Maybe we never had plans to go to the Ruby Mountains. Maybe our lives before this are just stories I'm telling myself. I look at photos on my phone, Zoe's birthday party, our house, my job, and they feel like someone else's memories. The man is outside right now. I can see him through the window. He's not by the lake anymore. He's closer. Every night, he gets closer. Marcus keeps asking if we should talk to him. Maybe he can help, Marcus says. Maybe he knows the way out. But I remember what happened when Marcus talked to him. I remember that blank look in his eyes. Zoe hasn't spoken in 2 days. She just colors. The same picture. Us inside a circle. The man outside. Except in her latest drawings, the man is inside the circle too. I'm writing this down so I remember. So when I wake up tomorrow and Marcus asks why we're here, I can show him. So when Zoe looks at me with that blank expression and asks who I am, I can prove I'm her mother. So when I look in the mirror and don't recognize myself, I'll have evidence that I existed, that we all existed, that we came from somewhere else. My phone is dying. The charge keeps dropping even though it's plugged in. The RV's lights are flickering. Outside, the man is smiling. There's a knock at the door. "Hello?" A woman's voice this time. "My daughter is lost. Have you seen her? Please, I need help finding her." Marcus is stirring, looking toward the door. "Daddy," Zoe says. Her first words in days. Let her in. I'm holding the door shut, but I don't know how much longer I can. The woman keeps knocking. Please, she's only 8, she's scared. I look at Zoe. She's smiling. The same smile as the man outside. Mommy, you should let her in. She's looking for me. I don't know when it happened, when she changed, when she became something else. Or maybe she's always been this way and I'm only now remembering. Marcus is at the door, he's unlocking it. I'm still writing, still holding on to this, to proof. The door is opening. The woman outside looks like me, exactly like me. She's smiling. There you are, she says to Zoe. I've been looking everywhere. Zoe climbs down from her bunk, takes the woman's hand. Marcus follows them outside. I'm alone in the RV now. I look at my phone, at this document. The words are changing, rearranging themselves. My name is Sophia Turner, and I've always lived in this valley. No, that's not right. My name is... I don't remember. But I wrote it down. I know I wrote it down. I look at the screen. The document is blank now. Empty. Outside, someone who looks like me is waving, smiling. Come on, she calls. We're all waiting. I look around the RV, at the bunk beds, the kitchen, everything familiar. This is my home, isn't it? I've always been here. Haven't I? I'm standing walking to the door. Outside, the valley is beautiful, green and lush, perfect. The family is waiting for me. The woman who might be me. The man who might be Marcus. The girl who might be Zoe. They're all smiling. I should join them. Shouldn't I? I look back at the RV one last time. At the phone on the table, screen black. There was something I was supposed to remember. Something important. But I can't recall what it was. The family is calling my name. Except, I can't hear it. Can't hear what name they're saying. I step outside. The door closes behind me. And the valley that doesn't exist on any map. The valley that shouldn't be here. The valley welcomes me home. The RV was found 6 months later by a group of hikers. Empty, clean, no signs of struggle. The Turner family had been reported missing somewhere in Nevada, though the exact location was never determined. Sophia Turner's phone was found on the table, fully charged. It contained photos of their trip. The last photo was taken from inside the RV looking out the window. In the photo, 3 figures stand by a lake, 2 adults and a child. They're waving at the camera. All 3 are smiling. When questioned, the hikers insisted the RV wasn't there when they passed through the first time. They'd done this trail dozens of times and had never seen that clearing before. When Park Services went to investigate, they couldn't find the location again. No trace of the valley, no RV, nothing. Just empty desert. Sophia Turner's document was recovered from the phone and is preserved as evidence. The final entries are corrupted, text replacing itself, words changing to fragments of other thoughts, other voices. The last readable line is, "My name is Sophia Turner, and I should not have stopped here. The investigation remains open. The valley has never been found again." Story 4. My name is Jacob Evans. I'm writing this down because I need someone to understand what happened at Ocala National Forest last month, even if nobody believes me, especially the part about the symbols. We went in late September, me, my girlfriend Sarah, and our friends Mike and his wife Lauren. Just a long weekend camping trip in our RVs. Mike had this 30-foot Class A he'd bought used, and Sarah and I had my dad's old 22-footer. Nothing fancy, but it had AC and a bathroom, which was all we needed. The plan was simple. 4 days at Juniper Springs Campground, some hiking, maybe kayaking down the creek. Sarah worked in accounting and needed a break from her firm. Mike taught high school history and had the week off for fall break. Lauren did freelance graphic design from home, so her schedule was flexible. I'd been between jobs since July, laid off from a marketing firm that went under, so I had plenty of time. We'd camped together before, twice in the Smoky Mountains and once at Lake Tahoe. This trip was supposed to be easier, closer to home, less planning. The drive down from Atlanta took about 7 hours. Sarah navigated while I handled the RV, which still made me nervous on highways. Mike and Lauren followed in their rig. We arrived Thursday afternoon around 3. The campground wasn't crowded. Maybe a dozen other sites occupied, spread out enough that you couldn't see your neighbors through the pines and palmettos. Our 2 sites were next to each other, numbers 47 and 48. The ranger who checked us in was a woman in her 50s named Patricia. She seemed friendly enough, told us about the springs and the trails, mentioned that cell service was spotty, but the camp store had Wi-Fi. "Anything we should watch out for?" Mike asked her. "Just the usual. Lock up food because of bears. Watch for snakes on the trails. Stay on marked paths." She paused, looking at something on her computer screen. "Oh, and if you're sensitive to bug bites, maybe use extra repellent. We've had a few campers mention unusual reactions this season." Sarah made a face. She was allergic to fire ant stings and always carried an EpiPen. We set up that evening without incident. Mike grilled burgers on his fancy propane setup while Lauren and Sarah made a salad. I got the chairs arranged around the fire pit between our sites. It felt good, normal. We ate and talked and drank beer until around 11, then called it a night. I should mention here that I've always had sensitive skin. Eczema as a kid, occasional hives from stress or certain fabrics. So when I woke up Friday morning with a small red mark on my inner forearm, I didn't think much of it. Probably a mosquito bite I'd scratched in my sleep. The mark was about the size of a dime, slightly raised, shaped vaguely like the letter V or maybe a chevron. It didn't itch much. I put some hydrocortisone cream on it and forgot about it. Sarah wanted to hike that morning. We took the trail to Juniper Springs, about 3 miles round trip through scrubland and hammock forest. The day was hot, pushing 90 degrees, but the tree cover helped. Mike brought his good camera and kept stopping to photograph birds. Lauren walked ahead, earbuds in, listening to a podcast. Halfway to the spring, Sarah pointed out a gopher tortoise crossing the trail. We waited for it to pass, watching it lumber into the underbrush. That's when I noticed Lauren had stopped about 20 yards ahead and was examining her ankle. "You okay?" Sarah called. "Yeah, I think something bit me." Lauren lifted her pant leg. There was a red mark on her calf, similar in size to mine. When she turned it toward us, I could see it had an odd shape too. Not quite a circle, more like 2 curved lines intersecting. "Probably a spider," Mike said. "Did you feel it?" "No. I just noticed it now." We continued to the springs, which were beautiful, clear blue-green water bubbling up from underground, feeding into a creek lined with cypress trees. We didn't swim, just sat on the observation deck and ate the sandwiches we'd packed. Lauren kept touching her ankle. The mark had gotten slightly darker, more defined. "Does it hurt?" I asked. "Not really, it's just weird. The shape is so precise." I showed her my arm. "Mine's kind of the same, sharp edges." Sarah examined both marks with her phone flashlight. "They do look unusual, but probably just random. Bites and scratches get weird shapes sometimes." We hiked back without incident. That afternoon, Mike and I drove into the small town of Salt Springs to get more ice and supplies. The only store was a combination gas station and convenience mart. An old man behind the counter rang us up. He had one wandering eye that made it hard to tell where he was looking. "Y'all staying at Juniper Springs?" he asked. "Yeah, just for the weekend." He nodded slowly. "That's good country out there. Old country." Mike laughed. "What does that mean?" "Just means it's been here longer than we have. Longer than the Seminoles, even. Some places are like that." He put our change on the counter instead of handing it to us. "You see anything strange out there, you just ignore it. Best way." In the truck, Mike shook his head. Every small town has one of those guys, the cryptic old-timer who warns the tourists. "Yeah," I said. But I kept thinking about what he'd said. Old country. That evening we built a bigger fire and roasted marshmallows. Sarah made s'mores the way she liked them. Burnt black on the outside, gooey inside. Lauren seemed distracted, kept checking her phone even though there was no signal. Mike asked if she was okay. Fine, just tired. Around 10, Sarah and I headed to our RV. I was exhausted, ready to crash. But when I was brushing my teeth, I noticed something in the mirror. On my forearm, where the first mark had been, there was now a second mark next to it. Same size, same slightly raised texture. This one looked like a short horizontal line with a small curve at one end. I called Sarah over. Did you see this earlier? No, are you sure it wasn't there? Pretty sure. Maybe you brushed against something, thorns or barbed wire. Maybe. But I didn't think so. The mark was too clean, too deliberate looking, and my arm hadn't touched anything that would have scratched it like that. I didn't sleep well. The RV's AC struggled against the humidity, and I kept waking up feeling too warm. Around 3 a.m., I got up to pee and checked my arm again in the bathroom light. The two marks were still there, maybe slightly darker. I took a photo with my phone, thinking I'd show it to a doctor when we got home if they didn't fade. Saturday morning, Mike knocked on our door around 8. When I opened it, he looked pale. Hey, can you look at something? He lifted his shirt. On his left side, just above his ribs, there were 3 marks. They formed a pattern, 2 parallel lines with a diagonal line connecting them, almost like a simplified letter N or a sideways Z. When did those show up? Sarah asked. I noticed them when I woke up, but I don't know. He lowered his shirt. Lauren has more too, on her other leg. We went to their RV. Lauren was sitting at the dinette, her leg propped up. She'd rolled both pant legs up. The original mark on her calf had been joined by 2 more, one on the same leg, higher up near her knee, and another on her opposite ankle. Each mark was distinct, each one looking almost intentional in its design. This isn't normal, Lauren said quietly. These aren't bites or scratches, look at them. She was right. The marks were too uniform, too precise. They looked almost carved, but none of us had felt any pain. No itching, no burning. Just these red welts appearing on our skin. Should we go to urgent care? Sarah asked. And tell them what? Mike said. That we're getting mystery marks. They'll say it's contact dermatitis or something and give us steroid cream. Maybe that's all it is, I said, not believing it. Sarah checked her own arms and legs. Nothing. She was the only one without marks. We spent that morning around camp instead of hiking. Lauren researched skin conditions on her laptop, using the camp store's Wi-Fi. Nothing matched exactly. Mike thought maybe it was poison ivy presenting in an unusual way, even though none of us remembered touching any 3-leaved plants. I wondered if it could be some kind of allergic reaction to something in the water or air. Around noon, Mike went to talk to the camp host at Site 12, an older couple who'd been there all season. He came back 20 minutes later looking troubled. They said 3 other campers mentioned similar marks earlier this month. Said they thought it was chigger bites at first, but the patterns were weird. The campers left early, freaked out. Did they report it to the rangers? Sarah asked. Yeah. Rangers brought in someone from environmental health. Couldn't find anything. Tested the water, soil, vegetation. Nothing unusual. That afternoon, more marks appeared. I found another on my shoulder blade. Sarah had to tell me about it because I couldn't see it without contorting in front of a mirror. This one looked like a small circle with a line through it. Mike got 2 more on his forearm close together, forming an angular pattern. Lauren discovered one behind her ear that she said looked almost like a letter, but not quite. The weird thing was how matter-of-fact we were starting to be about it. Every few hours someone would say, "I've got another one," and we'd all gather to look. It became routine, almost mundane, which itself felt wrong. That evening, Sarah finally got her first mark. It was on her inner wrist, a shape that looked vaguely like a crescent moon. She stared at it for a long time. "I want to leave," she said. "Tomorrow," I told her. "We'll pack up tomorrow morning, go home early." But Mike thought we should go right then. It was past 7, getting dark, but he argued we could be back in Atlanta by 2 a.m. Lauren agreed with him. I looked at Sarah, and she nodded. We started breaking down camp in the dark, working by flashlight and lantern. It took about an hour to get everything disconnected and stowed. I was securing the water hose when I heard Lauren scream. I ran around to their RV. Lauren was standing by the door, her hand pressed to her neck. Mike was trying to get her to move her hand so he could see. It's fine, she kept saying, but she was crying. When she finally lowered her hand, we saw it. A mark on the side of her neck, larger than the others. This one was clearly, unmistakably not random. It looked like two intersecting lines forming an X with small hooks at each end. Like a rune or symbol from some alphabet I didn't recognize. "We need to go now," Mike said. We finished packing in near silence. I kept checking my skin compulsively, waiting for another mark to appear. By the time we were ready to leave, it was almost 9. The campground was dark except for a few scattered sightlights. Most campers had already turned in. Mike started his engine first. Then I started ours. Sarah sat in the passenger seat, holding her wrist and staring at the mark. In the rearview mirror, I could see Mike's RV pull onto the campground road. That's when my engine died. Just cut out completely. All the lights went dark. I tried to restart it. Nothing. Not even a click. Mike's RV stopped ahead of us. He got out and walked back. "What happened?" "I don't know. Battery, maybe?" We tried jumping it from Mike's RV. Nothing worked. The electrical system seemed completely dead. Mike suggested we take his RV and come back for mine the next day, but I didn't like the idea of leaving it. These things were expensive, and my dad had trusted me with it. "I'll stay," I said. "You guys go. I'll figure it out in the morning." Sarah refused to leave without me. So did Mike and Lauren, which I appreciated, but also resented. We were stuck. We went back to Mike's RV, it was bigger, and tried to make sense of the situation. Mike thought maybe the electrical problem wasn't a coincidence. Lauren said that was paranoid thinking. Sarah suggested we call the Rangers, but Mike had tried already and got no answer. Around 11, we heard voices outside. At first, I thought it was other campers, but the voices were strange, multiple people speaking in overlapping whispers that I couldn't quite make out. Mike turned off the interior lights and peered through the window. "I don't see anyone." The whispering continued for maybe 10 minutes, circling the RV. None of us spoke. Then it stopped. Lauren broke the silence. "I have more marks." She lifted her shirt. Her entire stomach was now covered with them. Dozens of red symbols forming what looked almost like text, though not in any language I'd ever seen. The marks were interconnected, forming larger patterns. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. I checked myself. New marks on both arms, my chest, my legs. All of them forming these precise, deliberate symbols. When I tried to count them, I lost track. Maybe 20, maybe more. Mike had them too. Even Sarah now had them on both arms. "What is this?" Lauren's voice was shaking. "What's happening to us?" None of us had an answer. We sat in the darkened RV, listening to the night sounds of the forest, watching as more marks appeared on our exposed skin. They didn't hurt. They didn't itch. They just manifested. Like something was writing on us while we watched. Around midnight, Sarah noticed something. She'd been taking photos of her marks with her phone, trying to document them. When she scrolled back through the images, she saw that the symbols had changed position. "Look," she said, showing us. "This mark was on my wrist an hour ago. Now it's on my forearm, and this one moved from here to here." We checked Mike's photos. Same thing. The marks weren't staying put. They were migrating across our skin, rearranging themselves. "They're not random," Mike said quietly. "They're organizing, forming something." Lauren started crying. "This isn't possible. This doesn't happen." But it was happening. We could see it. Every few minutes the marks would shift slightly. Some would fade while new ones appeared elsewhere. It was like watching a very slow animation being drawn on our bodies. Around 2 a.m. I noticed a pattern. On my left forearm, 5 marks had arranged themselves into a clear sequence. A vertical line, then a circle, then 2 diagonal lines forming a V, then another circle, then a horizontal line. They were evenly spaced, deliberate. "Does anyone else see patterns forming?" I asked. "Like specific arrangements?" Everyone did. Mike had a circular arrangement on his chest. Lauren had marks on her back that Sarah said looked like they were forming a spiral. Sarah herself had a line of symbols running up her inner arm, 8 or 9 marks in a row. "It's trying to tell us something," Mike said. "It's not trying to tell us anything," Lauren snapped. "It's a medical condition, some kind of, I don't know, hives, stress reaction." But she didn't believe that. None of us did. Around 3, Mike went outside to try his phone again. He said he was going to walk to the camp host's site and get help. We waited for him to come back. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Sarah called his name out the window. No response. Lauren started to panic. "Where is he? He should be back by now." I volunteered to go look for him. Sarah didn't want me to leave, but Lauren was getting hysterical. I took a flashlight and stepped out into the humid night. The campground was absolutely silent. No insects, no wind, no distant traffic. Just this oppressive quiet that felt thick enough to press against my eardrums. I walked towards Site 12 where the camp host stayed. About halfway there I saw Mike. He was standing in the middle of the road, not moving, his back to me. "Mike?" He didn't respond. I walked closer, my flashlight beam catching him. He was just standing there, staring into the woods. "Mike, what are you doing?" When he finally turned around, his face was blank, not scared, not confused, just empty. And in my flashlight beam I could see that his marks had spread. They covered his neck now, his face disappearing into his hairline. All these intricate symbols that seemed to shift even as I looked at them. "It's not malicious," he said, his voice flat. "It's just explaining." "Explaining what?" "How we're supposed to be. How we've always been supposed to be." He tilted his head. "Don't you want to understand?" I backed away from him. "Mike, you're scaring me. We need to get you help." "I don't need help. I need to finish." He lifted his shirt. His entire torso was covered now, every inch of skin marked with symbols. "It's almost done. Then I'll know. Then we'll all know." I ran back to the RV and told Sarah and Lauren what I'd seen. Lauren tried to go to him, but I stopped her. "He's not right. Something's wrong with him." "He's my husband." "I know, but we need to stay inside." We locked the doors. Through the window we could see Mike walking slowly back toward us. He stopped about 20 feet away and stood there, lit by the RV's exterior light. Just watching. Around 4:30 a.m. the marks stopped spreading on me. I counted 47 distinct symbols covering my arms, chest, stomach, and legs. They'd arranged themselves into definite patterns, some in lines, some in clusters, some in isolation. I didn't recognize the writing system, but it looked like writing, like I was covered in a language I couldn't read. Sarah had maybe 30 marks. Lauren had more than 100, so many that they overlapped in places, creating dense fields of red symbols across her skin. Mike remained outside, standing in the same spot. Occasionally he'd move a few steps, then stop again. Once, around 5 a.m., I saw him touch one of the marks on his face, tracing its shape with his finger. He smiled. When dawn finally came, we could see other campers emerging from their sites. A couple walked past Mike without seeming to notice him. A man started his truck and drove away. Everything seemed normal except for us, trapped in this RV covered in impossible marks, watching Mike stand vigil outside. Around 7, a Ranger truck pulled up. Patricia, the woman who'd checked us in, got out and walked over to Mike. They talked for a minute. Then she came to our RV and knocked. I opened the door partway. "Morning," she said pleasantly. "Your friend says you're having some mechanical trouble?" Yeah, and we're experiencing some kind of medical issue. We need help." She looked at my arms, covered in marks. Her expression didn't change. "What kind of issue?" These marks. They appeared overnight. All of us have them. Probably chiggers. Very common this time of year. They're not chiggers, look at them. She looked, really looked. Then she said, I see some insect bites. You should pick up some anti-itch cream at the store. I realized she couldn't see them properly. Or wouldn't. What about my RV? Can you help us get it started? I can call a mechanic from town, probably won't get here until this afternoon though, it's Sunday. After she left, we sat in stunned silence. Sarah finally said, she didn't see them. The marks. Not really. She saw something, I said. She just interpreted them differently. Or she's part of it, Lauren whispered. Whatever it is. Around 9 a.m., Mike opened the RV door and stepped inside. We all flinched back, but he moved slowly, carefully, like he didn't want to startle us. I'm okay, he said. I promise. Mike, what happened to you? Lauren asked. I understood. He sat down at the dinette. The marks, they're not hurting us. They're teaching us, showing us what we really are underneath all the noise and confusion, our true shapes. That doesn't make any sense, Sarah said. It will, when you're finished, when the marks complete their pattern. He looked at each of us. It doesn't hurt to let them finish, it just feels like finally recognizing yourself in a mirror. I checked my arms. The marks had changed position again, forming a different configuration. They seemed to be working toward something, some final arrangement. What happens when they're finished? I asked. Mike smiled. Then you go home. Live your life. But you know now. You carry the knowledge. The proof that we're part of something older than our little definitions and categories. Something that was here before us and will be hereafter. He stood up and left. We watched him walk back to his RV, get in, and start the engine immediately. It caught on the first try. He pulled out of the campsite and drove away without looking back. The mechanic arrived around 2 p.m. He fiddled with my RV for 20 minutes and got it started. Said he couldn't find anything wrong with it. I paid him cash and thanked him. We drove home that afternoon. Sarah and I in my RV, Lauren following in hers. We didn't talk much during the drive. What was there to say? By the time we reached Atlanta, most of the marks had faded, not all of them. I still have maybe a dozen scattered across my body in what looks like deliberate placement. Sarah has 7. We don't know how many Lauren has because she won't answer our calls. Mike sent one text message 3 days after we got back. I hope you understand now. I hope you're not afraid. We haven't responded. The marks that remain don't bother me physically. They're just there, faint red symbols that look like scars but aren't. Sometimes I catch myself tracing them with my finger, trying to decode their meaning. Sometimes I think I'm close to understanding. Sarah wants to see a dermatologist. I've been putting it off. Part of me knows they won't see what I see. They'll call it dermatographia or stress rashes or something equally mundane. They'll give me cream and send me home, but late at night when I can't sleep, I find myself looking at the marks in the mirror, watching them, because I swear they still move sometimes, just a little, shifting position by millimeters, still arranging themselves, still finishing whatever pattern they're trying to form. Sometimes I wonder if Mike was right, if understanding is just a matter of letting them complete their work, of not fighting against the knowledge they're trying to impart, but mostly I wonder if the marks will ever truly be finished, or if I'll carry them for the rest of my life. A partial message. An interrupted translation. The question that keeps me awake isn't what the marks mean. It's whether I want to know. Sarah is asleep next to me as I write this. In the dim light from my phone, I can just make out the 7 marks still visible on her arm. They form a small constellation, precise and purposeful. Yesterday, I noticed an 8th mark beginning to appear on her wrist. I haven't told her yet. I don't know if I will. Because maybe Mike was right about one thing. Some knowledge changes you. Some understanding unmakes who you were and rebuilds you into something else. something that can bear the weight of what you now know. I look at my arms, at the symbols that won't fade, and I try to convince myself they're just scars, just marks, just skin being weird after a stressful weekend. But in my heart I know they're more than that. They're an alphabet I'm learning to read, and I'm terrified of the moment when I finally understand what they're trying to tell me. Story 5. My name is Lily Brooks. I know this place. I've lived it before, and I don't survive the second time. That's what I kept thinking as we pulled our rented RV into the campground at Fish Lake National Forest in central Utah. It was early September 2019, and my boyfriend Marcus had planned this trip for months. 3 days of camping, hiking, disconnecting from our phones and the stress of grad school. I'd agreed because I needed the break, but the moment we crossed into the forest, something felt wrong. Not wrong like danger, wrong like déjà vu that wouldn't let go. Marcus drove while I navigated. The paper map spread across my lap because service had died 20 miles back. The road wound through stands of aspen trees, their leaves just starting to turn gold. The light filtered through them in a way that made everything look slightly overexposed, like an old photograph. "This is Site 47, Marcus said, pulling into a cleared area with a picnic table and fire ring. Pretty isolated. Closest neighbor is 3 sites down. I got out and stretched. The air smelled like pine and dry earth. No other sounds except wind through the leaves. Marcus started setting up while I walked the perimeter of our site. That's when I saw the tree. It was an aspen, thicker than the others, with bark scarred by what looked like initials. I walked closer. The carvings were old, weathered almost smooth, but I could make out letters. LB plus MR, my initials, Marcus's initials. "Hey, look at this," I called out. Marcus came over, wiping sweat from his forehead. He studied the tree, then laughed. "Weird coincidence. How old do you think those are?" "Years. Decades, maybe. Probably some other couple with the same initials. Lisa and Mike. Lucy and Michael. But my name was Lily. His was Marcus. Not common names." He went back to connecting the water hookup while I stood there staring at the tree. The carvings had been made with care, not the quick scratches teenagers make. Someone had taken time with these. Below the initials was a date, barely visible, 09/04/19, 3 days ago. I didn't tell Marcus. Instead, I helped him finish setting up the RV, unloading our food and gear, pretending everything was normal. But I kept glancing at that tree. The carvings hadn't been there when we arrived. I was certain of it. I'd walked right past that spot. That first night, we made dinner on the camp stove and sat outside while the sun set. Marcus talked about his dissertation research, something about neural networks and machine learning that I only half understood. I nodded and smiled and drank the wine we'd brought, trying to shake the feeling that I'd done all this before. Around 10, we went inside the RV. It was small but comfortable, with a bed over the cab and a convertible dinette. Marcus fell asleep quickly. I lay awake, listening to the wind and the creaking of tree branches. At some point, I must have dozed off because I dreamed. In the dream, I was standing outside our RV in the dark. The forest was completely silent, no wind, no animal sounds. I could see Marcus through the window, asleep in bed. Then I noticed someone else in the RV, a woman standing in the shadows near the door. She was facing away from me, but I could tell she was looking at Marcus. The woman turned. She had my face. I woke up gasping. Marcus was still asleep beside me. The RV was empty, but I could smell something faint in the air. Perfume. The same perfume I wore. I got up and checked the door. Locked. The windows were closed. I sat in the dinette with my heart racing, telling myself it was just a dream. Just stress and too much wine and this stupid feeling of familiarity I couldn't shake. The next morning, Marcus wanted to hike to Fish Lake. I wasn't in the mood, but I didn't want to stay at the campsite alone, so I agreed. We packed water and snacks and set out on the trail around 8. The hike should have taken 2 hours. We walked for 4. "Did we miss a turn?" Marcus said, checking the map for the 3rd time. "I don't think so. This is the main trail." But every landmark looked the same distinctive dead tree. the same boulder shaped like a mushroom. We'd passed them twice already. Marcus insisted we were just confused, that we were seeing different trees and rocks that happened to look similar. But I knew better. The forest was looping us. "Let's just go back," I said. "We're almost there. The lake should be just over this ridge." He was right. 10 minutes later, we crested a small hill, and there it was. Fish Lake, stretching out blue and calm under the afternoon sun. A few boats dotted the water. Everything looked normal, peaceful, exactly like the photos in the brochures. Except I'd seen this before. Not in photos. In person. Marcus wanted to have lunch by the water, so we found a spot near the shore. He was in a good mood, talking about maybe renting kayaks tomorrow, coming back here to fish. I picked at my sandwich and stared at the lake. A family was swimming about 50 yards down the beach. 2 kids and their parents. The children's laughter carried across the water. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "Just tired from the hike." "You've been weird since we got here. Is something wrong?" I wanted to tell him about the initials, the dream, the way every moment felt like something I'd already experienced. But how do you explain that without sounding paranoid or crazy? "I'm fine," I said. "Just need more coffee." We stayed for another hour, then started back. This time the hike took the right amount of time. The trail didn't loop. We reached our campsite by late afternoon. Marcus took a nap while I sat outside with a book I didn't read. That's when I noticed the photographs. There were 5 of them, Polaroids, tucked under the windshield wiper of our rental truck. I pulled them out carefully. The first showed our RV from a distance taken sometime during the day while we were hiking. The second was a closer shot of our campsite, the picnic table with our stuff scattered on it. The third was taken through the RV window looking in at our bed. The fourth was me sleeping. The fifth was Marcus, also asleep, but taken from a different angle. Like someone had been moving around inside the RV while we slept. My hands were shaking. I looked around the campsite into the trees. Nothing moved. No sound except the wind. I showed Marcus when he woke up. He studied the photos with a frown. Someone was in the RV? I don't know. Maybe they were taken through the window. We need to call the rangers. There's no service. Then we drive until we find service. This is stalker shit, Lily. Someone's been watching us. But I didn't want to leave. Not yet. Because part of me knew that if we left, we'd just come back. The valley wouldn't let us go that easily. "Let's lock everything up tonight," I said. "Tomorrow we can drive to town and report it." Marcus didn't like it, but he agreed. We spent the evening inside the RV, double-checking the locks, closing all the curtains. He wanted to stay up and keep watch, but I convinced him we'd be safe if we were careful. Eventually, he fell asleep. I lay awake, listening. At 2:47 a.m., I heard footsteps outside. They were slow, deliberate, circling the RV, not trying to be quiet, just walking. I held my breath and listened. Marcus was snoring softly beside me. The footsteps stopped near the door. Then I heard something else. A woman's voice humming. It was a song I knew, one my mother used to sing when I was young. The humming stopped. Then came a knock on the door. 3 precise taps. I didn't move. Marcus kept sleeping. The knock came again. 3 taps, then silence. I waited for 5 minutes. 10, 20. Nothing. Finally, I got up and looked through the curtain. There was a woman standing in our campsite. She was facing away from the RV, toward the tree with the initials. Long, dark hair, jeans, a blue jacket, the same jacket I'd packed for this trip. As I watched, she reached up and touched the carved letters on the tree trunk. Then she turned around. I couldn't see her face clearly in the dark, but I saw enough. The shape of her jaw, the way she stood. It was like looking in a mirror. She walked toward the RV. I stumbled backward, my heart slamming against my ribs. She reached the door and tried the handle. It was locked. She tried again, rattling it harder. Then she stopped and pressed her face against the window right where I was standing. I saw her eyes. my eyes. Lily? Marcus's voice, groggy with sleep. What are you doing? I turned. He was sitting up in bed, squinting at me in the darkness. There's someone outside, I whispered. He got up and came to the window, pushing me aside gently. He looked out. I don't see anyone. She was just there, right at the door. Marcus unlocked the door and stepped outside before I could stop him. I followed, my whole body tense. The campsite was empty. No one by the tree, no one near the truck. Just wind and moonlight and shadows. There's no one here, Marcus said. But I saw the footprints, fresh marks in the dust near our door, leading away toward the trees. Small prints, the same size as mine. I showed Marcus. He studied them with a flashlight, then looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Maybe you were sleepwalking, he said carefully. These look like your boots. I wasn't sleepwalking. Lily, you've been stressed. This trip was supposed to help you relax, but you've been on edge since we got here. Maybe you went outside and don't remember. I wanted to argue, but what could I say? That I'd seen myself standing outside? That someone who looked exactly like me had tried to get into the RV? He'd think I was having a breakdown. We went back inside. Marcus locked the door and went back to bed. I sat in the dinette staring at my hands, trying to make sense of what was happening. The dream, the photographs, the woman outside, the initials on the tree. I'd been here before. I knew it with the same certainty I knew my own name. But how? And when? I must have fallen asleep at some point because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the windows and Marcus was making coffee. He smiled at me like nothing had happened. Sleep okay? Not really. Yeah, me neither after all that. Listen, I think we should cut the trip short, head home today. This place is getting weird. No. The word came out sharper than I meant it. Marcus looked surprised. No. I need to figure something out first. Figure what out? Lily, someone was taking pictures of us. Someone might have been in the RV. This isn't safe. Just give me a few more hours, please. He didn't understand, but he agreed. While he took a shower, I went back to the tree with the initials. I touched the carved letters, feeling the rough bark under my fingers. The date was still there, 9/04/19, 3 days ago. But that wasn't possible. These carvings were old, years old. Unless they weren't from 3 days ago in 2019. Unless they were from 3 days ago in some other year, some other September 4th. I pulled out my phone even though I knew it wouldn't work. No service, just like Marcus had said. But when I looked at the screen, something was wrong. The date showed September 7th, 2019. We'd arrived on September 5th. We'd been here for 2 days. But I could remember 3 days. I could remember 3 days clearly. I went back to the RV. Marcus was dressed, looking at a map spread on the dinette table. What day is it? I asked. Saturday. What's the date? September 7th, why? We got here on the 5th, right? Yeah. Thursday. I'd lost a day. Somewhere between arriving and now, I'd lost an entire day. Marcus, did anything weird happen yesterday? Yesterday, we hiked to the lake. You were tired. We came back and found those photos. Why? What about the day before that? Thursday? He looked at me strangely. We got here Thursday evening, set up camp, had dinner, went to bed. Nothing weird happened until last night. But I remembered another day. I remembered waking up that first morning and hiking to the lake, and something happening there. Something important. But when I tried to focus on the memory, it slipped away like water through my fingers. I need to check something, I said. I went to our bags and found my journal. I always kept a journal when we traveled. I flipped to the most recent entry. September 5th, 2019. Arrived at Fish Lake around 6 p.m. Beautiful spot. Marcus happy. I feel strange, like I've been here before. September 6, 2019, hiked to Fish Lake. Got lost on the way. M thinks I'm acting weird. He's right. Something's wrong with this place. I found the photos under the windshield wiper. Someone's watching us. Someone who knows us. Tomorrow I'm going back to the lake. I need to remember. Tomorrow. But it was already tomorrow. September 7th. And I couldn't remember writing that second entry. We need to go back to the lake, I told Marcus. Why? I don't know. I just need to. He looked at me like I was crazy, and maybe I was, but I didn't care. Something had happened at that lake, or was going to happen, and I needed to understand what. We hiked back out, following the same trail as before. This time it took exactly 2 hours. No loops, no confusion. When we reached the lake, it was deserted. No family swimming, no boats, just still water and empty shore. I walked to the spot where we'd had lunch the day before. The sand still showed our footprints from yesterday, except there were other footprints too. Smaller ones following the same path we'd taken. My footprints, but not from yesterday. Lily, what are we looking for? Marcus asked. I don't know. But I did know. I walked along the shore following those other footprints. They led me around a bend away from the main beach to a rocky outcrop that jutted into the water. And there, scratched into the stone, were more initials. LB plus MR 090419. Below them was a message carved in the same weathered style. I tried to warn us. My hands went numb. I called Marcus over and showed him. He stared at the carving for a long time. This is impossible, he said. I know. Someone's messing with us. This has to be a prank. But we both knew it wasn't. The carvings were too old, too weathered. They'd been there for years. We're leaving, Marcus said. Right now. We're packing up and leaving. I nodded, but I knew it wouldn't matter. We'd tried to leave before. We'd try again. The valley would keep us here until something happened. Until whatever had happened before happened again. We hiked back in silence. Marcus walked fast, almost running. I followed, looking at the trees, the rocks, everything suddenly familiar. I'd walked this trail before. Many times. And each time I'd forgotten, just like I was forgetting now. When we reached the campsite, everything was wrong. The RV was gone. Our truck was gone. The fire ring was still there and the picnic table, but no RV, no gear, nothing. Just an empty site with fresh tire tracks leading out. What the fuck? Marcus said. We ran to the site. The tracks were recent, still sharp in the dust. Someone had driven away with our RV and truck while we were at the lake. My phone, Marcus said, patting his pockets. I left it in the RV. Mine was in my backpack, still showing no service. We started walking toward the campground entrance, toward the ranger station we'd passed on the way in. It was maybe 2 miles. We could make it in half an hour. We walked for an hour. The entrance never got any closer. This doesn't make sense, Marcus said, stopping to check the map. We should have reached the main road by now. But I knew we wouldn't. The valley didn't want us to leave. Not yet. We turned back toward our campsite. This time the walk took 10 minutes, and when we got there, the RV was back. The truck was back. Everything exactly as we'd left it. Marcus stood frozen in the middle of the site. I watched him process what was happening, watched him try to rationalize it and fail. This isn't real, he said. This can't be real. It's real. Then what the fuck is going on? I walked to the tree with the initials and touched them again. The bark was warm under my fingers. And suddenly, I remembered. I remembered the first time we'd come here. Not 2 days ago, not last week, years ago. Before grad school, before Marcus and I were even together. We'd been friends, hiking buddies, and we'd decided to do this trip. We'd carved our initials in this tree on the last day. September 7th, 2014. And then we died. The memory came back in pieces. We'd gone to the lake one last time that morning. Marcus had wanted to swim even though the water was cold. He'd gone out too far. He'd gotten a cramp. I'd tried to save him, but the water was so cold, so deep. We'd both drowned. Except we hadn't. We were here now, alive, standing in this campsite in 2019. "Marcus," I said. He was looking at his hands, turning them over like he didn't recognize them. "I remember dying," he said quietly. "So do I. But we're not dead. We're here. We're not here. We're stuck." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the fear in his eyes, the understanding. "How many times?" he asked. "I don't know." But I could feel it, the weight of repetition. All the times we'd come here, set up camp, hiked to the lake, tried to leave. All the times we'd forgotten and started over. The valley looping us through the same 3 days, September 5th to 7th, over and over. "The woman you saw last night," Marcus said. "That was you, from another loop. Or from this loop, or from the next one. How do we stop it?" I didn't have an answer. I looked at the tree, at the initials we'd carved 5 years ago, at the date that kept changing to match whatever September 4th had been 3 days before we arrived. The valley was showing us our own path, our own choices, carved in stone and bark and sand. "We don't go to the lake tomorrow," I said. "What if tomorrow never comes? What if we're already stuck?" He was right to worry. The sun was setting again, the third evening, the same evening. In a few hours, we'd go to sleep. And when we woke up, would it be September 6th again? Or would we finally reach September 8th and break the loop? That night, neither of us slept. We sat in the RV with all the lights on, drinking coffee, watching the door. Around midnight, we heard the footsteps outside, the woman circling the RV, the humming, the 3 knocks on the door. Marcus wanted to open it. I held him back. "That's me," I said. "From some other time. We can't let her in. What if she's trying to help? Or what if she's trying to keep us here?" The knocking stopped. I looked through the curtain and saw her standing by the tree, touching the initials. Then she turned and looked directly at me. Her mouth moved. She was saying something. "I'm sorry." Then she walked into the forest and disappeared. "We have to get out of here," Marcus said. "We've tried." "Then we try again." We packed everything into the truck while it was still dark. We didn't bother with the RV, just left it there. We got in the truck and Marcus started driving. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the narrow forest road. We drove for 20 minutes, 30, an hour. The same dead tree kept passing by our windows. Marcus started crying. I'd never seen him cry before. He pulled over and put his head against the steering wheel. "We're never leaving," he said. I got out of the truck and walked to the dead tree. It was covered in carvings, hundreds of them. All the same initials, all the same date, all the same message carved over and over. I tried to warn us. I understood then. We'd been here before, many times, and each time we'd tried to warn ourselves, tried to leave messages, tried to break the loop. But it never worked. The valley kept us here, kept us cycling through these same 3 days, dying at the lake and waking up on September 5th to do it all again. I carved one more message below all the others. Don't go to the lake. Then I got back in the truck. Marcus was staring at the steering wheel. "What do we do?" he asked. "We wait." "For what?" "For morning, to see if we break the loop." We sat there as the sun rose. September 7th, the last day. If we could just make it through this day without going to the lake, maybe we'd break free. Maybe we'd wake up on September 8th in the real world. But as the sun climbed higher, I felt the pull. The valley wanted us at the lake. It had always wanted us there. That's where we died. That's where we'd always died. And until we stopped dying, we'd keep coming back. "Marcus," I said, "I don't think we're going to make it." He looked at me. His eyes were red from crying. "I know," he said. "I can feel it too. It wants us there. What if we just stay here in the truck all day? We've probably tried that before." He was right. We'd tried everything before. We just couldn't remember. The day passed slowly. We sat in the truck, not talking, just waiting. No one came. No cars passed. The forest was silent. By late afternoon, my legs were cramping from sitting so long. I needed to walk, just for a few minutes. "I'm going to stretch," I said. "Don't go far." I got out and walked around the truck. The forest looked different in the fading light. The trees seemed closer, leaning in. I could hear water in the distance. The lake. It was calling to me. Before I knew what I was doing, I was walking toward the sound. I couldn't stop my feet. Behind me, I heard Marcus calling my name, but his voice sounded far away. The trees opened up, and there it was. Fish Lake, blue and perfect and deadly. I walked to the water's edge. The same family was there, swimming. The same 2 kids laughing. But when I looked closer, I saw they weren't swimming. They were floating face down in the water. And the parents were standing on the shore watching, not moving. They were all dead. They'd been dead the whole time. "Lily!" Marcus grabbed my arm and pulled me back from the water. He was crying again. "We have to go," he said. "Right now." But it was too late. I could see her standing on the far shore. The woman with my face. She was waving at us, calling us into the water. "That's not me," I said. "That's what the valley wants me to become." Marcus pulled me harder, dragging me away from the lake. We ran back through the forest, branches catching at our clothes. The RV site was just ahead. If we could reach it, if we could get to September 8th, we stopped. The RV was gone again. The truck was gone. Just the empty site and the tree with its 1,000 carved warnings. And there, sitting at the picnic table, was the woman. She looked up as we approached. My face, but older. Tired. Her eyes held something I recognized. Resignation. "You can't leave," she said. "I've tried everything. We've tried everything. The valley keeps us here because we died here. We drowned in that lake on September 7th, 2014, and we keep coming back to try to stop it from happening." "We haven't gone to the lake," I said. "Not today. We didn't drown." "We will," she said. "We always do, because we don't remember. Each time we forget a little more, and each time we go back to the water." Marcus sat down at the picnic table. He looked broken. "How many times?" he asked. "I don't know anymore, but I'm tired. I don't want to do this again." She stood up and walked to the tree. She touched the initials one last time. "There's only one way to break the loop," she said. "We have to remember. We have to hold on to the memory of dying, and we have to choose not to go to the water." "We didn't go," I said. "Not yet. But the night isn't over." She was right. The sun was setting again. September 7th, the last day. The day we always drowned. "What happens if we make it to midnight?" I asked. "I don't know. I've never made it that far." The 3 of us sat at the picnic table as darkness fell. We talked about everything we could remember. The first time we came here, the hike that led to our deaths, all the loops since. The other me remembered more than I did. She'd been stuck longer, probably. She'd carved most of the warnings. Around 11, she started to fade. "What's happening?" Marcus said. "I'm going back," she said, "to my loop, to try again." "Wait," I said. "How do we know we won't forget? How do we know we'll remember this time?" She smiled sadly. "We don't. But maybe this time will be different. Maybe you'll remember. Maybe you'll be the one who breaks free and warns the others." She faded completely. Marcus and I were alone at the campsite. "What time is it?" he asked. I checked my phone. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until September 8th, until we either broke free or started over. "I'm scared," Marcus said. "Me too." We held hands and waited. The forest was silent. No wind, no animal sounds, just us and the darkness and the slow passage of time. 11:55, 11:58, 11:59. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, Marcus would either be there or gone. We'd either be free or starting over. I'd either remember or forget. The phone clicked to 12:12, September 8th, 2019. I opened my eyes. Marcus was still there, still holding my hand. We'd made it. "Are we free?" he whispered. I didn't know, but I knew we'd survived the loop, for now. We got back in the truck and drove. This time, the road didn't loop. We reached the highway in 30 minutes. We drove all night, not stopping until we reached Salt Lake City. The sun was rising when we finally pulled over at a rest stop. Marcus fell asleep immediately. I sat there looking at my phone. September 8th. The date was real. We were free. Except I knew we weren't. Not really, because in my phone I found photos I didn't remember taking. 5 Polaroids, scanned and saved. Pictures of an RV, a campsite, people sleeping, people who looked like us but weren't quite us. And in the last photo I saw myself standing by that tree, touching those initials. I looked tired. I looked resigned. I looked exactly like the other woman had looked last night. I'm writing this now, so maybe I'll remember next time. Because I know there will be a next time. The valley isn't done with us. We broke one loop, but there are others. We died in that lake 5 years ago, and some part of us is still there, still drowning, still trying to get out. Marcus is still asleep. He doesn't know yet that we're not free. He'll figure it out soon enough. Maybe next week, maybe next month, when he starts to feel that familiar pull to go back to Fish Lake, to finish what we started. I know this place. I've lived it before, and I don't survive the second time, or the third, or the 10th, or the 100th. But maybe someday someone else will find my warnings. Maybe they'll read the initials on that tree and understand what they mean. Maybe they'll stay away from the lake, or maybe they'll go anyway like we did. Like we always do, because the valley remembers us and it won't let us forget, not ever.